Hello, everyone, and here we're at the final video of these 4 video series about the new detachments that have come out for 11th edition. So that is very exciting. Today we have the Imperium, which is funny. Imperium is usually first. To be fair, they did Space Marines first, so they kind of did their Imperium. And these are, to say, some of my least played armies. Maybe, I don't know if familiar is the correct word. I'm familiar with every army pretty in depth, but these are, besides for one of them, armies I've played or experienced the least amount personally. I play against a lot of these armies all the time, so I have a good perspective there. But I want to point them out, so maybe I won't give some like there's gonna be less hidden knowledge or nice perspective for you guys to learn here. I don't want to, set you guys up for something that you won't see. So I still will talk about everything, give my ideas on everything, but there's just gonna be less of personal experience. Except for one, Custodes, as an army, to say the least, I have a good amount of experience with. So I'm very excited for here. This Custodes section, I do think gives credence to my idea when I talked about CSM the other day, that they are, besides what they think fits flavorfully, are also using dispositions as a balancing maneuver. Because CSM's best attachments in general, like Renegade Raiders, Harns Marauders, PBZ, and such, got unfavorable or straight up bad dispositions for how their army plays. Well, Custodes is an army that is much worse, except for one very specific build. Uh, got very favorable dispositions, which is really cool for Custodes. I will say though, Custodes are technically good right now with one single build that is very restricted in unit choice and attachment. That build got, besides their other game-wide changes, got one actual nerf that is kind of hidden in the rules, which is your warlord has to be from your main army, which means Custodes cannot take an Inquisitor as the warlord anymore. They need a Custodes model. That is actually a sizable change we got to worry about if you're trying to play the same Hurin's Talons build. We also got confirmation the other day about how stepping points are going to work. They said it's like maybe better or common or overpowered units will start getting step costs at the third or second unit. And some units are going to pay for points. So maybe they'll use that to maybe make Land Raiders have a step cost or Custodian Guard. I don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see that in a couple days because I did confirm points for next week. I would assume they're Wednesday, as they usually do points. Hopefully it's Monday and they just update the app later. But well, it's probably going to be Wednesday. So look forward to that. We'll have everything by that time, at least before the weekend next week. So there'll be a lot of information coming for you guys there. Before we start, like I said, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Helps a lot trying to get to 10,000 subs and everything. Thank you for being a member if you are. It means a lot. Like I said, I'm going to start. I have a new idea with some membership videos. I'm going to take some polls on it. So if you're a member or you want to be a member, you can potentially look forward to those, thankfully. And other than that, let's begin with the Custodes. Boom. What is that? Cool. Custodes. Let's talk about dispositions first. Sorry. So what they got is, they got a Dreadnought attachment. You got a Sister Silence detachment. And then we got a new Laris Terminator. I guess it's just Terminator in general. Detachment. And what's really good is the Dreadnought detachment is Purge the Foe. Custodes is an elite slow army. So unlike, like CSM before, as I said, armies like this, they really want to play Purge. And sorry, my eye is flickering. And they really want to play Taken Old. So those are things we want. Party assets is okay. Recon is pretty much impossible unless you're playing Mass Sisters of Silence. So we're not even going to think about that one. And Disruption is just generic and kind of bad. So we're going to look for Purge and Taken Old in here. So by the Moratory, a Dreadnought attachment. This gives you Purge. It's 1 DP. So if you play any of the 2 DPs, there's only 1 3 DP, thankfully for us. You have access to Purge whenever you need it. Really good. Sisters is Recon. I think both of them, which is funny. Both Sisters is Recon. That's also a benefit. If Recon is, I would say, almost unplayable for Custodes. That means no matter what style of Custodes, unless you're playing, Sisters, you're not locked into it. Like what are attachments, like say if Lions was Recon, Lions would be pretty locked out unless one of these 1 DPs had a good disposition to go with it. So we don't have that worry. We don't have the bad disposition stealing one of our attachments for us. The attachments that matter here are Lions of the Emperor, Shield Host, Talons of the Emperor, maybe Solar Spearhead. I don't think Solar Spearhead's very good, to be fair, though. Especially since I think the best 1 DP is, the one you can't pair it with. So what we have that's really good is we have Lions of the Emperor, which is Disruption. And Lions of the Emperor is a pretty decent attachment, but it can compare with Might of the Moratory, the Dreadnought attachment, to get Purge. Very good for Lions. Shield Host is Purge. Shield Host isn't a great detachment. It has some okay rules, especially if you're trying to kill people. So you can always play Purge with Shield Host, and that means you can combine it with any of these detachments and have the rules you want. Maybe the Laris attachment, if you're trying to play Laris, they have a quite good strat for Laris in there. Or the Sister attachment, I think is, I I said I think this one is generically the best because of the disposition, but this one gives you the best overall rules. And Solar Spearhead and Talons are both take and hold, which is both what they want to be doing, especially Talons at 3DP. So if Talons doesn't receive any substantial nerfs otherwise, what they got, Talons is in an amazing spot, even playing the same Land Raider style build, or even just trying to go for a Golden Horde. Big, durable unit standing up points. It's very good in 11th edition. It's very helpful. So Talons just does that perfectly. And Solar Spirit also kind of does that by spamming Dreadnoughts and stuff like that. So you can combine it with either of these two attachments. I think Silent Hunter would be quite good there and get some nice rules out of there. We got some very good dispositions to look forward to. So the detachments, by the Mortori, this is very similar to Solar Spearhead if you've seen it, but it's 1 DP instead of 3 or 2. So that is really good. It gives Walker's units +2 movement, +1 advanced charge. This is very impactful on Talmons. It's obviously very impactful on normal Dreadnoughts, but I don't think they're very good. But Talmon moves 8. He has +1 advanced charge. He goes really fast. He's less impacted by terrain because there's less LOS, giant walls for him to worry about, and he can get mobile here. And his guns are better due to the cover changes. He has 2 AP1 guns, which were heavily impacted by the cover reducing your save or reducing your AP, making your save better, which he doesn't have to worry about anymore. And custodian units are all, generically, they hit on 2, so hitting on 3 is not the worst thing in the world. They're less impacted by cover. And, one thing for Lions, I'll say that, since Lions isn't going to be in this little section, actually kind of is, like, hold up. Lions gives you +1 to hit and wound when you're outside range of other custodian units. The +1 to hit was almost useless for custodians in general because I hit on 2s and there wasn't a lot of modifiers in 10th edition, especially hit modifiers. But now that essentially means you can recover. So it actually does something. That's really nice. So this attachment, the attachment ability is solid. The biggest issue, custodian dreadnoughts baseline are very not good. That's why we needed something like Solar Spearhead to give them a crap ton of rules, or like this one. And this one does do that. All right, in nerd expertise, there's always Walker unit. This unit attacks reroll 1 state and wound. This is a crazy upgrade. You can take this on every 3 dreadnoughts, so up to 3 Telmons most of the time. I do like the Galladus, which is the sword and board dreadnought, depending on the meta. The Galladus has a 4 pinball save, which is really good. It also has -1 to wound in melee statically. It's not against higher strength than your toughness, which means in like a mid-strength meta, if you play in a meta of Space Wolves or like maybe most versions of World Eater, stuff like that, they're getting wounded on 6s and they're really freaking hard to kill. And then they have like 8 attacks in melee, damage 3, giving that thing reroll 1 send wound is really good. But the Telmon loves this, especially combined with the gun Telmon. Barely, do you guys seen this strategy for pay to Warcom? You can make a Telemon with the Storm Cannon, have 36 shots at 611 dev wounds. Give that guy real ones to hit, and he is shooting so hard. Or the hybrid Telemon. You're not going to use a strat anymore, but that guy still has a good melee weapon. And then, he's going fast with +1 to charge. +1 charge is very impactful. It means you can't fail your charges anymore. You can, but you can't fail 2-inch charge. And I've had that happen a good amount of times already in my decent amount of games at 11th, but not an absolute ass load amount of them. And this guy will just hit on 2s, wound only 1s, wound most things in the game on 2s or only 1s, and just kill in melee. That's really good. Second is Ormite Sarcophagus. Walker unit, they can use Crushing Impact or what we used to call Tank Shock for -1 CP. This is whatever. You're not going to take this. You're going to take, as many walkers as you have this ×3, unless it's like an ass load amount of points. Hopefully it's not. Custodes also are not an enhancement-based army. You don't have to worry about overcapping your upgrades because you only take 4 total. We usually take 0 to 1 enhancements in any detachment, so we're good to take this 3 times if we need to. So we're off to a great start. This upgrade is amazing. Detachability itself is amazing, especially when it's only 1 DP. First is Flawless Construction. Shooting phase or 5 phase when an enemy targets a walker unit, that unit gains a transhuman effect, as we say, of strength is higher than toughness -1 to wound. This is amazing for Telmon. Telmon is a 2-up save, 4-up pinball. It's essentially a 4-up pinball save Redemptor, if you guys already pay attention to that. The 2-up save, a 4-up pinball save, -1 damage, 12 wounds. Now it can have, -1 strength against higher wounds. So it's really good. Also a decent OC of like 4 or 5. And now it's really fast. It hits really hard in either phase or both phases. And it's relatively durable. So that's awesome. Next is Unstoppable Advance. When a walker unit selected to move, they gain mobile. Mobile lets you just move through terrain at, I don't think, -2 to move. This is less impactful on an 11th edition than it would be in 10th edition. Unless, due to the walls that are on these boards are very tiny, to say the least. A lot of times you can move through it. A Telmon is on a slightly bigger base of 100, so it's more impacted by the walls than maybe like a 60 mil, like small dreadnought would be. But when this comes up, it's nice. It's sadly not in charge phase, only the movement phase. One thing I will say is, this one is not 100%. I don't know. I think GW said you you know, tournament organizers don't have to feel that they need to exactly copy the exact ruins of the boards, just like the board layouts. So if tournament organizers start adding slightly bigger walls to these objectives, which I think they should, this becomes much better. All right, so 2 good strats so far. And finally, prioritized eradication. When a Telemon Dreadnought is selected to shoot, this is the strat we saw. You get +6 shots with your Storm Cannon or +2 shots with the Iliasis Culverin. Both of these are quite good. It gives you 50% shots in either profile. The Culverin I didn't talk about it as much, but it is still better in 11th edition. I just like the Storm Cannon. It has longer range. It has double the range. The Storm Cannon has 24, seem to be 12 to use the strat. And so the Culverin has 48, so it needs to be within 24 to use the strat. The Culverin is a very normal autocannon. It's 4 shots at 913. That means that AP1 AP is not nearly as impacted by 4 before. And it will just hit and wound most infantry that you're shooting on 2s and just hand them, a very likely, 7 to 8 saves because it's 6 shots, so 12 shots. So yeah, very likely like 10 to 11 saves, which is quite good. I will say, I don't think that type of profile is needed too much. Custodes have a shit ton of damage to mid strength, like strength 4, strength 5 in mass. So getting some like anti-intercessor shooting is not needed as much. But anti-small shooting, we only have one thing that in our army can do that, which is kind of hilarious. It's usually, and a Custodian has 2 shots. But a Telemon walking with 36 shots with real 1-stand wound with dev wounds is really good at killing small things. So I think that one's more impactful. But overall, this attachment is amazing. I'm looking forward to add this to a lot of things like Solar Spirit, not Solar Spirit, a Shield House potentially, Lines of the Emperor are the 2 main ones. Yeah, because of the 2 best attachments. And then, like I said, I think Talons of the Emperor is a secondary build. All right, so very excited for this attachment. Like I said, a lot of times, some attachments, like we saw with the Raptor attachment, which is a fine attachment, is there because it has a really good disposition. This both has an amazing disposition and really good rules. Like, this is an easy, like, I'm going to play 1 to 3 Telemons. It's not too many points. And shove it into any detachment. And I have a good support for those models. But I also have a really good disposition now. So it's like a win-win. Silent Hunters is the Sister Silence attachment. Like I said, I think this is generically the strongest one. Just as if you're not trying to, run a very specific build of just Alaris or just Dreadnoughts. This gives you a very good, just random 1 DP add-on. So guys, Titanic units can advance and still action. It says any Titanic unit, which means it works on your Rhino. Or your Witch Seekers with Scout. Or your, whatever they're called. Your leaders, which are not expensive, like 50 points. The leader for the sisters, she gives you +2 to move, +2 to advance, +2 to charge. So you can move 8, advance a +2 and still action, go really, really far. And finally, Psychic units have the thing where they point at someone within 12 and you get +3 detection range. This is okay. Custodes are a slow army with mid range, so it can kind of help them out, but they also want to be close to the enemy anyway, so it's not going to come up too often. But this is fine. You're taking it for this ability, and just having this secondary is nice. So very good, helpful support ability. And Sisters units in general are incredibly cheap at the moment. It's like 40 or 45 points starting. And then if you take a whole squad, they're only 90 or 100 points either way. So taking like 3 to 5 squads is not a big issue. Like I said, I love the Rhino because it's super cheap. They can give it Scout with the Witch Seeker. And it randomly has a 30 field plan against mortals or psychic weapons. So it's really annoyingly durable versus a couple armies and people trying to do mortals. All right, next is enhancements. These don't really matter too much, but whatever, if they're cheap, you'll take them. First one is you pick a Psychana model, and she gets a redeploy for 3 Psychana infantry. This is fine. We don't have any infiltrate, so it's not the biggest port in the world, but maybe you can set up a different scout. You're probably not going to take this too often unless you are fully. You can combine this with the Sisters of Silence detachment, Noel Maiden Vigil. Either of them have a keyword. So if you want to go full Sisters, you got that, and that would help that army. Psycho Grenades, it's an upgrade for a Sisters unit. It gives them explosives. And if they target a Psyker, it gets to reroll the dice. So I think the average is close to 5 to 5.5 mortal wounds with this strat if you get fighting a Psyker. Custodes don't have access to grenades. You have Draxus and you have Aaliyah. And then an Inquisitor can take it. But in our codex, it's only Aaliyah. And hopefully the new codex has more explosive units. So that would be cool. And otherwise, it's some of the Inquisitors you can take. So this is nice. If it's like 5 points an upgrade, I will definitely probably think about taking it. It's like you can take 1 more sister or you can give the unit grenades. Like I'd probably give the unit grenades. Like I said, upgrades and enhancements are not premium for Custodes, so it's not the biggest deal wasting some of your slots on this. It's fine. It's not, gonna break the bank. All right, next is Death Song Size. Pick a Vigilator unit. That unit gets Lance, and if it's against a Psyker, +1 attack. 1 CP Lance is already good strat. And then if you're also taking a Psyker, the strat is amazing. Vigilators, I think, are understated. Like I said, that if you are playing with um what's the word? The character. The character, like I said, gives them +2 to move, +2 to charge, +2 to advance. So they go incredibly fast. They're not expensive. It's like 90 points for 10 man, maybe 100 points. So they're very cheap. And though they only have 2 attacks, it's an efficient profile. 5/2 dev wounds, anti-psyker 5 plus. It's like a nice mastercraft to power sword profile. Obviously, power swords is not something we're wanting in this army, but the vigilators are very fun in lions. I've played them a lot. Yeah, getting them. They already get +1 to hit wound most of the time anyway, so the lance part is not the biggest issue. But I do like them in general, so we got to think about them. Next is Umbral Persecution. 1 CP when a prosecutor shoots, you get rapid fire 2 and +1 AP. This is like AP2 or rapid fire 3. That would be nice. Sadly, bolt guns already have rapid fire 1. So all this is doing is if you're the 12, giving you 1 more shot, 1 more AP. The AP matters a lot, but the issue is you can do like probably a better version of the strat in Talons, which is +1 strength and +1 AP in most instances. It's just like prosecutors, they like, unlike witch seekers, vigilators, which actually have decent detachment ability, like vigilators might want to hit melee. And witch seekers have scout and they battle shock people. Prosecutors just have a cute anti-psyker ability where if they're fighting psychers, they have dev wounds and precision. This strat is really good if you are fighting psyker units because it will be 30 shots at AP1 precision. You might very easily kill a character and dev wounds, but that's super niche. Luckily, like I said, like the vigilators, prosecutors are incredibly cheap. It's like 90 for 10. It's like 9 points a model. You have a 3-up save. If you could combine this with Talons, that'd be amazing because then you could rapid ingress, react to move them and such. The character, if you take her, she can get a 2 damage bolt gun, so then that's fun. 3 shots at AP 1 or 2, damage 2 something. But I don't think you're going to use this too often because you don't really want big squads of witch seekers. Seeker Knights Inferno. Prosecutors. Shooting phase, when a witch seeker is selected to shoot, you get blast 1. This is another one. I think this strat almost exactly exists in Null Maid and Vigil, but I think better or slightly different. That one can give them +1 shot and +2 shots with restrictions. That is obviously +1 shot is strictly better than blast. It's not. Sorry, I take that back. If they have a 20-man unit, then you get +4 shots. So never mind. This strat's in many ways maybe better than that one. This is another one that can incentivize a big 10-man. Like I said, it's like 100 points at most. It's not expensive to take a 10-man with a Rhino. You get benefits for both. They can both action and shoot. They can potentially go fast if you give them leaders, stuff like that. And then if you fight like a 10-man or a 20-man, plus 20 shots on a 10-man, really good. Or if you fight a 20-man, that's a plus 40 shots, right? Each one gets +4. Yeah. That's a lot. So that can be very good. That can be counter meta. If like you're scared of Recon Guard, for instance, like 1 or 2 Witch Seeker big squads coming out, they'll like, you turn all the cover off, so they'll lose all their rules. The best they'll have is a 4 or 5 save, and they're like, here's 40 plus 10 d6 auto hits, and now you also have to take a battle shock that you potentially could fail, and then maybe you still fail on your turn. Unlikely, because Guard have incredibly high O's at leadership, but they need to. But that's cool. Like this attachment doesn't really have anything actively terrible in it, and the enhancements are fine. The detachability is solid. The strats are solid, and it's just a generic, if you're playing Shield Host, you're playing Lions, Moldmate and Vigil, and you don't probably specifically want to play Telmons, this is an easy slot in, just to get some nice extra rules. Very cool. Next is Thranatory Hammerbow. This attachment I do not like. All right, Terminator units, which includes some kill-ons for whatever reason that matters. When they make an ingress move, they can reroll charges. So this only works on rapid ingress and deep strike. So if you deep strike, you can go for a 9 rerollable. That's unironically trolling. You can just spend a CP or do freaks. You might have a character CP roll anyways. Rapid ingress actually pseudo matters because then you can maybe set up a heroic, and you can't reroll your heroics unless you have a baseline reroll charge ability because it's 2 strats. So that's the only thing it slightly impacts, but it's such a minor impact at all. And the big issue is Alaris are ungodly expensive right now, and that unit has gone down like 20 points over the last year or two because they're 55 points a model for just a Terminator. That's too much. Like normal Space Marine Terminators get down to 30 points and such. The EC Terminator is obviously these are T7 with 4 wounds, which is more durable and such most of the time, except against like damage 2. Um, but it's just not. It's 55 points. Their melee is in many ways worse than a guard squad because theirs is reroll uh melee versus characters reroll wounds against uh characters equals to monsters, and Alaris are a custodian guard or reroll wounds when they're on objective, which you're fully in control about. You're trying to fight like like a 10-man unled unit, so maybe like one of the 10-man Thunderwolf, not Thunderwolf, Wolfguard Terminators that doesn't have the third leader. Terminators aren't getting rerolls, and they have the same melee profile otherwise. They like updated axe again to actually make the axe finally good. They get close to there, but not exactly. Um, but it's the same output. So the only thing you're paying for is more wounds and different shooting. I don't know if it's better shooting. It's obviously they get to reroll. They get a second gun, which is a fine gun, and they get maybe reroll easier because you can deep strike out in the open and get rerolls versus shooting twice and buffing your characters. So it's like they're not even. I don't even know if they're better than shooting. And guard are you can technically give Alaris banners, but it's a much higher, steeper cost than guard. Giving a banner because guard, for one, you get a value, you get the shield, so you get more wounds. And two, since they're cheaper, it's less impactful wasting their melee profile taking a banner versus Alaris, which costs more points. And also, T6 to T7 is not a big break point. There's not a lot of strength 14 in the game. There's not a lot of strength 6 is okay, and strength 7 is very, very rare. So like T7 is not a big break point. T8 is quite good, as we'll get to later. But like, so that the toughness increase of a Terminator compared to a Custodian Guard is not immense. Okay, next is Memno Locked Shrine Cipher. You can turn one ingress. Whatever. This doesn't matter. Also, Alaris got an indirect nerf with the game-wide changes. Since their abilities once per game, they can go up in the sky. That means in 10th edition, they could come down on your turn one. If you went second, your opponent went first. You took, your turn, you keep struck on turn one. You're not allowed to do that in 11th edition. So that is a slight indirect nerf to them, making them slightly worse. Hope they go down. I think, like 48 to 50 points for Alaris is a good number for them. So I hope they go down. Efficient Aggression. Adeptus Custodes Terminator only, and which is also funny because I think Wardens are like 52 points now. I think it's still, I don't know. I don't like either unit, to be fair. Custodes Terminator unit in a shooting phase when the unit has shot. If this unit lost a wound, you get a D6+1 surge move. This is one of the only ways to get surge move in Custodes. It's nice. The issue, if you're taking like a big squad with a character, you're like unironically 5 outer points, and a surge move helps. But if they're outside 8 or 9 inches, whatever, you can't surge into them anyways. And if you're getting shot by any real anti-tank or really anti-Terminator, you're very likely losing most of your unit no matter what anyways, because they don't really have any durability. You have one weird way to gain durability in this detachment. And Custodes, unironically, that's a big issue with Custodes in the Codex. They don't have any things to do. They have very little counter durability, no mobility to speak of, except for one character, and it's once per game. They're just like, okay, I don't have access to transhuman. I don't have access to AOC because I have never had access to AOC, which is kind of funny. Even a funny story. So in 9th edition, obviously Custodes were good at the time. That's why it didn't happen. But in 9th edition, during the last 2/3 of the edition, for at least a year, they gave every power armor army. They just game-wide change, all Sisters, Death Guard, Space Marines, stuff like that. Just passive AOC at all times. That's how bad power army was at the time. But Custodes didn't get it. They were the only ones. I think Grey Knights even got it. So yeah, Alaris just kind of they come down, they shoot someone and say, please kill me, and then they die. All right, Hardened Resolve. That's why you never see big Alaris squads. You see like maybe a character or two usually, if you see them at all. Hardened Resolve. You're shooting phase of 5 phases, one targets an Alaris, they get +1 toughness. So it does make them T8. So this is an impactful breakpoint. Strength 8 is like the most, besides for strength 4, like the most common melee profile. It's like what the power fist style profiles are. Like if you're an elite weapon, you are strength 8, which is not very high. Otherwise, you're usually strength 4, strength 5. So against strength 4, strength 7, strength 8, and strength 14, and I guess 15, which I don't know anything as strength 15, this hits a breakpoint. So strength 4 is, very normal. Strength 8 is quite normal. The other one's not so much. It's very good against those two things. Next is Unleashed Alliance. This strat is garbage. It's really cool and I love it lorefully, but this is bad. And it's also worse in 11th edition. Because unless you're trying to do take and hold, which you might hear, you don't want to split your Unleashed Alliance. You don't want to split your Custodian. You're just giving your opponent more units to kill for things like Purge. It also just doesn't fundamentally do anything. It's cute. You can go, I can up you down into individual units now. As long as I not had already used their uppy downy, because how like static effects work is if you were affected by an effect, you're still affected by it. So if you use your uppy downy once per game, all of them counted as using it. Unless there's a fact here saying that doesn't count, but that's shit how it works. And it just doesn't do anything. It's like I have a bunch of 1-man custodians. Like, what is that doing? You can buy them in 2 mans to begin with anyway, so it's like not actually doing that much. It's cute, but that's all it is. It's funny he calls out Aquilons. Like I said, this document is the first time they've ever, for all I know, in a GW rule that wasn't like specifically a Forge World rule, has directly called out a Forge World model on their rules. Like this calls out Aquilon, the other one calls out Telmons. Like for instance, Old Solar Spearhead just calls out walkers and says nothing about Telmons. And when they came out with Solar Spearhead, they essentially implied the detachment was just for Contemptor Dreadnoughts because they felt like they couldn't talk about Forge or whatever. But now they're fully into it, which is good. Hopefully, like I said, they essentially said it, and it leads much more credence to at least the plastic models that are coming out. Like the Telemon, they says coming plastic, are the ones they released before, are going to be in the Codex and not just be relegated to online rules only that never get updated like they were in 10th edition. So hopefully, here's doping. I don't think the Quillons are getting refreshed though, so maybe this is kind of the last stand. The Quillons are also really bad right now. All right, Exo Text. What the heck? Electro Exorcist Saturation. Shooting phase when an Adeptus Custodes Terminator selects a shot. I like how it says Terminator, but it says Ballistic Grain Launcher, so it's only for Galeras. The unit Ballistic Grain Launchers have D3 plus 3 shots. So the average is 5. When I think a Ballistus is D6 shots, right? Yeah, right now it's D6 shots of 411. So I think the average of that is about 3.5, so between 3 and 4. So you can expect on average of 2 to 1 more shots. That's fine, especially if you're not fighting any units. It's blastable. You can't roll a 1. The worst you can roll is a 4 instead of rolling a 1. Stuff like that. That is, if you have a big 6-man, the lowest you can roll is 24 instead of 6, which is quite impactful. This is a fine strat. I don't know if that's better if you're trying to play Shield Host than just using strat that gives you sustained hits in most times. Probably not, especially if they have blast, and then the lowest end of your shot count is much lower if you have blast, because your shot count is like D6 plus 1, D6 plus 2, which means you're much less likely to just roll, you still roll 1, but you're less likely to get like 1 shot. So overall, this attachment is not very great. It has, 1 okay strat, 1 good strat, 1 trolling strat, and a pretty bad attachment ability and some whatever enhancements. It doesn't give you a disposition that matters. Priority assets, I don't think the army can be okay against. I guess if you unleash the lions, it lets you priority assets. Custodes is another army that doesn't have action economy. Like, technically, if you played all 3 of the ones, you would, because you can take a bunch of sisters. They can do actions in advance. That's cute. I don't think you want to do that, to be fair. This doesn't buff Alaris enough to make them a 130 per detachment. Like, all it has is a side grade damage increase. Overall, like I said, I don't think this attachment's great. I don't think it's like dreadful or anything. This strat's good. This strat's fine. Also, I'll tell you, predetermined surge moves are not very good. Because your opponent just knows was like that unit is the only one that can surge. Okay, I don't have to worry about it. I just have to stay outside whatever inches of that, or I just don't have to shoot it. Versus like something as a strat, where like, okay, any unit in my army can surge at once. You have to preemptively play around it at all times. This is not that impactful. It's obviously D6 plus 1, which is thankfully, and like if you play in 10th edition, you can think of it as D6 plus 2, and that sounds a lot higher, which it is because the average is about 5 inches, which is cute. But it's just, your unit's so expensive. But I really love these 2 attachments, especially this one. I have a lot of ideas about Maya the Moratoria right now. I read this attachment originally, and I'm like, okay, we'll have to see how the rules are, about what the strats are, what the upgrades are, because the attachments, the models themselves are not very good baseline. And this kind of solved any of my doubt in it. So very excited. Let's get the effect. All right, so to start off, we do have an issue, which if someone could tell me what actually happens, that'll be funny, is they made the planes now, except the Orion, which became just a hover. They didn't actually say it in here because it's a Forge World model. They don't talk about it. Your Ares is now the plane that doesn't move, and also it's like the Dark Talon got forgotten. They didn't update its bomb ability. Thank you, GW. But the Orion is now just a normal hover vehicle. You don't have to worry about that. But this model in Ares is on a giant ass, like 160 mil, like a Defiler, and it has 2 rapid ingress. I mean, not rapid ingress. It has 2 strat reserve, but its model is 6.5 inches, so it can't. What do we do? I don't think GW thought about that. They didn't write a rule for it. So I don't know what happens to this guy. I don't know. I think, he's probably going to Legends very soon when the Codex comes out, because I know the plane, I don't know, but I very assumedly thinking the planes aren't getting updated to plastic. I think that's a safe explanation thing to think about. So there's a little funny thing to talk about. All right, let's talk about any rules. Nothing changed here. Still 8 inches. Nothing really changed here. Nothing changed there. Nothing changed there. He said we gotta read all of them and see which ones are new and not, because I didn't highlight anything. Nothing changed there. You know, our rapid reactive move became 8 inches. No surprise. Nothing changed there. Still the same update. They didn't forget to keep the bikes updated, because they did. That would have been really cringe, because then they would have been nerfed again. Valerian hilariously got Deep Strike back, because they did forget him in the codex. They updated a long time ago. Yeah, Verspradus have their buff. Yeah, frame to things. Wait, Virtus Praetors are a frame. That's weird. That's a nerf for them. All right, people, you have to fly your Virtus Praetor sideways now. Because if your Virtus Praetor is hanging over its base, it counts. It's a hole now. Essentially, it's a hole for all intents and purposes. So, like, if your model is hanging over its base, like with the spear, that counts. Virtus Praetors are already terrible enough. Why do they get the frame ability? I don't like that. It's annoying. Let's look at a Virtus Praetor. I'm pulling it up right now. All right, so I got one. These are my old Virtus Praetors. See, like this. You see, it's hard to tell, but he slightly hangs over his base on the front. Very slightly. Which means this part counts for like LOS and stuff. You can't just like, a lot of times you would do is, don't look at that. Say this is an objective or like a piece of terrain. It'd be easier so in TTS, but I'm right here. You would put a bike like this, just barely touching, you know, and not actually touching, so he doesn't have LS. That means he's hanging over it and can be seen. This is a weird, annoying nerf to this. I don't know why they got whole. They're like a very condensed bike thing. It also means the spear counts because it's part of the model. That's dreadful. I think they need to take away frame from Virtus Praetors. That's annoying. All right. All right. Finally, anything here that matters? No. So barely no facts about Custodes. If you didn't know, Custodes are actually one of the least changed armies in 10th edition. They were completely ignored this whole edition. Hopefully that changes. 11th edition. Please. It's been a little sad in Custodes land. Yeah, this is essentially everything 10th edition. Not much change. They did update the Forge World stuff. You know, like they gave frame to the grav tank, which we don't have to worry about. Stuff like that, which is quite good. The grav carrier also got frame. There you go. So yeah, it's got frame. I don't have to worry about this. This thing is, to be fair, it's not very fast, but it having flying stuff is much better. Obviously, Toan. So even though I hate this model, same reason I hate Gladiator Lancers, I hate very specific models. Like this guy is only good at shooting tanks. If you don't have tanks, this model's a 200-point piece of shit. But he is better. So got to think about that. I think I'd still rather take Land Raiders. It's also kind of a big issue. Land Raiders like the same exact price. It's like Land Raider shooting is worse. Obviously, it's got, you know, -1 damage. It doesn't have twin link. Doesn't have lethal hits. It's got better side guns. Got an extra once per game shooting. It has, in most instances, much more durable. And it has, more importantly, transport. And it's higher OC. This thing is OC4, which is nice. To be fair, it's very expensive, so it should be higher OC. And this model, which is less important now, it's actually, you know, an upside is, you know, pivoting, is this model's is super big. It's I think it's one of the longest models in 40k. Like it's like a real model. Like obviously Bane blades are bigger, but it's a knight base that hangs over it. So it might be, I think kill rigs might be slightly longer, but it like in real sense, it's the longest model in 40k, which is still a downside in every. It's always a downside to be ginormous, but it's less because of the pivot change. So there we go, people. That's Custodes. This is the longest section I've done for one of these. It shows you how much I love this army. So I actually have high expectations of this army, even with our terrible codex going into 11th edition. I think it's going to be very good. And, you know, hot take, I think it might be one of the best take and hold armies in the game. Like, I'm going to be exploring, you might see a video about it. I'll be exploring at Talons, Might to the Mortuary with X and stuff like that. So lots of things I got to be thinking about, and you might be watching. So there we go, just Custodes. We're gonna go to next, probably guard. We'll do guard next. All right, let's get to the guard people. My favorite army in the game. I say it with sarcasm. All right, so we got one super cool detachment, Abhuman Auxiliaries, taking hold. Bridgehead, which is priority, and Destination Force, which is recon. Guard feels like it's a detachment, an army that can do any disposition perfectly fine. They probably want to do maybe things like take and hold, priority assets. The most they seem like technically you can make a purge army, but they're always gonna have a good amount of random crappy units around. So they don't, they feel like they can do purge okay, but they don't feel like a great purge army. So I think you'd probably want to be focusing on things like priority assets and take and hold too often, which feels pretty normal because they have a lot of those here. So 3 DPs are Grizzled Company and Combined Arms to no surprise, and Recon to also no surprise. Recon's also Recon, which is good. Recon is obviously very good at Recon, but it would probably be pretty impressive as take and hold. I don't think this makes Recon substantially worse. I think game-wide changes of it can't screw people's primary nearly as easy as it did in 10th edition, and potentially the change to cover makes it worse. I'm not 100% sure there. Like they lose a very important armor save, but they get -1 BS very easily. So I don't know. Um, and the string out the currency change is big for them. You definitely can run less 20 mans. In general, they like stringing out units no matter what. So a lot of those changes are nerfed to them. I don't know if it's gonna make the army bad or even probably that much worse, but those are sizable changes. And we'll see if they actually got any real changes in the fact here. So, like I said, so not really a lot to think about dispositions. There's a lot of things they can do. They could play, anything combined with Bridgehead because that's a cool Scion detachment. Uh, they could just play Grizzled Company because it has priority assets and combined arms, just generic. No changes there. Mechanized Assault seems quite good, especially maybe with Bridgehead and such. And that's Pertzvo. That seems pretty bad as Pertzvo. And to be honest, you're playing transport based 4-up save T3 models. That's going to be like, you might be good at killing a couple things, but your opponent's going to be able to kill the crap out of you back. So it doesn't seem too good. Steel Hammer is very funny for Purge. I do like Steel Hammer with Purge or Taken Hold. This is my favorite combo is Abhumans plus Steel Hammer. I do love Steel Hammer as the Baneblade attachment. And I played into it a couple weeks ago without the new changes, and they're really good. They're much better now because Baneblades have toe in, which is really cool, and free pivot with their model that's like 10 inches long. Baneblades. Alrighty, let's continue. All right, the Abhuman Stonks, Baneblade boys. What's this? Think about it. All right, so Abhuman units, Ogrins, Volgrin, Ratlings, blah. I get the keyword. And friendly orders in general can issue take aim, so they just get a buff. Your little 30-point commissar can now take arm stuff, and he can issue to Abhumans. So that means your Ogrin can now have, +1 ballistic skill, now +1 leadership and OC, and then +1 weapon skill and melee, which is good because you can order Volgrin hit on 2s, you can order Ogrin hit on 3s and shooting, and you can order them to have more leadership and importantly OC. So that's very impactful because that commissar buff just works generically. So if you want a cheap order a guy, commissar is like a 30-point dude who can now tank aim. Stonks. Enhancement, sharp eyes, light fingers, rattling. This unit likes to shoot, the enemy has +6 texturing. It doesn't matter. All right, commissar only. This model has a 4 feel no pain. That is very funny. And if it's like 10 points, you probably take this every single time. It's like fun. I don't know. As someone who's played 4 feel no pain commissars recently, it's pretty goofy. To be fair, those ones are T6. Which this guy would be T6 if he's in a unit. Until his unit dies. All right, Thick Scold Endurance. Your opponent's shooting phase or 5 phase when they target a Volgrin. That Volgrin or Ogrin has the -1 AP AOC style effect. That is pretty useless on Ogrin because they have 5-up save, but it's very good on Volgrin, who usually have a 3-up save or 4-up will save, or they can have a 3-up save and 4 wounds, or as a +1 wounder, something like that. But it'll make an Volgrin survive a lot more. They have feel no pain, they have -1 damage stuff, so this is very good there. Low profile, your shooting phase, when a rattling unit is shot, they can still hit in. That doesn't matter. Surge action. Shooting phase, when an enemy unit that has targeted a friendly unengaged Volgrin unit has shot, that unit gets to make a surge move at D6. So you give a blood surge to a Volgrin or an Ogrin. Those are nice. I talked about this being sweet because we were already testing and playing like double Baneblade with 12 Ogre inside because one of the Bane Blades has a firing deck like a million. So you can shoot a bunch of Ogre in. Then they get the buffs from the Bane Blade, and it's a million shots. I say Bane Blade, but like one of the Bane Blade chassis, it might have been like a Stormlord or something. The one with the most transport capacities, you can hold 12 Ogre because 36 slots. And then they would hop out eventually, and then thus, not hit as well. But now you can make them hit on threes. The Ogre ability is plus 1 AP when they're close, so it's 6 shots a model at 5.22 now hitting on threes. That's quite good. They have a decent melee profile. It's like 4 attacks at 611, and they are for how cheap they are. They're like 22 points a model, 23 points a model, or something. Still T6 with 3 wounds and feel no pain. They have a bad armor save, and they can potentially be used in hidden to stand on a point. So that's really cool. This is very exciting with the Steel Hammer detachment. Like I said, I think Steel Hammer might want to be doing Purge to Foe, but either Purge to Foe or Taken Hammer is quite good here. And as I said earlier, Bane Blades receive a crap ton of buffs, like their pivoting, their movement, their towing in terrain. All that is a lot better. And, especially the ones we're talking about, especially ones with a bunch of heavy bolters and heavy bolter chassis, the AP1 shooting is way better. So that's really cool for the Bane Blade life. Get excited. I am. Bridgehead Strike. This is probably generically the best detachment that you could slot into anything because it's just really good for Scions. It's very similar to the old Bridgehead, but made 1 DP. So it is. If a Tempest model is your Warlord, which you can always be your Warlord unless you take like 2 specific characters, like Leontis or something else. Friendly Scion units have +1 battle line and +1 OC. Very good. Scions become OC2. They become battle lines. So you can take up 6 of them. That's just good. One thing this I don't actually know. So it is when a friendly military attempt is selected to shoot, if they were set up this turn, which includes potentially being in a car, is set up, it's not ingress this turn, you have +1 hit. So you could even, if you want to deep strike your Scions, if you're thinking of taking this mechanized assault, you could maybe put them in a car. I don't know if that's better than Kazakin, but maybe you want to take 3 Kazakins and still put some more guys in cars. That's something. That's interesting, but yeah, it's mostly going to be for deep strike. They have deep strike stuff. Probably use your ability. But overall, this is an amazing buff for 1 DP. Tempest units get +1 hit when they come down. They also get reroll maybe wounds or maybe it's hits, but they have sustained hits from the character, and they have either reroll hits or reroll wounds, one of them. Can't remember. From their Days Sheet ability, which is also against objectives, so it's even better now. And then they become OC2, and then you can take more of them. Very impactful 1 DP before we get to any of the rules. All right, Bomba class Vox Array. Scion unit, when he issues an order, if he has the Max Vox unit, which means if he's, I think actually his unit always has the Max Vox, because military statistics only. This model can issue order to 3 different regiment units. So it means when he orders, he gets to order 3 units. That's quite efficient. I think he only gets to order once because you're not playing Grizzled to give him 2 orders, but that's really nice. That's it. Very good. Priority beacon drop. Military Tempest only. The first turn, you can make an ingress move. This is fine. It's better on like a unit that is not expensive and wants to drop down and shoot people to death anyway. So maybe you can think of some Alpha Strike plan because Scions plus the character altogether are not that expensive. So these style abilities are not that good, but they can, depending on the meta, depending what you're playing against, be impactful. On my position, this strat is very funny. At your opponent's charge phase, pick 1 engage regiment unit, which is the infantry style people. Roll d6 for everyone in combat with them. On a 2-up, they take d6 mortals, and the unit takes on average of 6. Which, if you're a 10-man, that's not even going to kill you, but that's a lot. On average, you're doing about 3 to 4 mortals to everyone in combat with you. So it means, like, if you charge me, you're going to get blown up, and then I'm just going to have to blow up a unit I don't care about. And it's any regiment unit. It's not just Scions, so it works on, like, some random guardsman or whatever. This is a really crazy good strat, making you, like, people terrified to charge your infantry. I would. Firing hot. This one's 2 CP, so one of the few 2 CPs in a 1 DP detachment. Your shooting phase, when a friendly Tempest unit or Kazarkin has selected to shoot, all the las cannons, all the las gun style weapons, so las gun, hot shot las guns, hot shot las carbines, hot shot las pistols, hot shot marksman rifles, and hot shot volley guns, and the sentry gun get +1 strength and AP. 2 CP is a lot. This is a very strong buff. It makes them strength 4, gets them up to AP 2 and 3. Very good. It combines with like your rerolls and your sustained hits, and then your +1 hit when you get out of a transport. And it's one thing which also, when you set up a Scion unit, that they get +1 to hit when they set up. That means they're hitting on 2's baseline, which means they can always just do the rapid fire order and not have to worry about do I want to hit on 2's or I want to rapid fire, or maybe use it to maybe counteract cover. and then you have a crap ton of shots that way. So this is very expensive, but a very good strat when you need it. Turbo designators. Your shooting phase when a friendly Scion unit has shot. I say Scion, but it's military Tempestus, which includes Quillons and stuff. This also means it affects, I'm pretty sure, maybe the transport, the Toroxes, or at least the Torox Prime. I'm gonna check that. Wow, lame. Never mind. They're not military Tempest. Used to be back in the day. All right, so just Scion style units, the infantry. Select one unit who has range attacks friendly. Other Scion units ignores cover when shooting it. That's very good. Your first unit comes down, shoots something mostly to death, and then maybe one pistol shoots something else, and everything else shooting that unit. All your Scion style units ignores cover, which should be most instances plus 1 BS. It's very good guard. So overall, this attachment is amazing. It's an amazing 1 DP. It gives you everything you need. This one definitely even comes close to feeling like a 2 DP for how impactful it is. So this one will be the generic. We are just adding this to any guard detachment that isn't 3 DP. Because like the Scions are generically good. Kazarkin are played everywhere. This does buff, Kazarkin in a lot of ways too. Like I said, even as strat here. So there's a lot going on here. Watch out for this attachment. It'll be scary. Next is Designation Task Force. This is another one of the goofy, stealthy detachments they put in a lot of armies. So Scout Sentinels and Smoke units have signal flares, which means one of the pick someone within 12 and you give them +3 detection range. We've seen this like 30 times already. It's probably slightly more impactful on guard because guard, in most instances, you have a couple of things that let you advance and shoot or teleport. Most instances is maybe not a slow army, but a very static army. They move their 10 or 13 inches and they shoot you. They're not doing any, I'm going to deep strike myself a bunch of times. I'm going to advance and shoot my whole army, stuff like that. I don't have random units that go 50 inches. So they're a very pre-measurable army. So this helps them do that. And this is a recon thing. You're now taking a recon attachment, which is 3 DP anyways, so whatever. All right, Scout Sentinel unit. This unit has infiltrate. Scout Sentinels come in 2 bands, so you can infiltrate six Sentinels if you wanted for some reason. That's all I got to say about that. Infiltrate is always a useful ability. Guard has 2 or 3 infiltrate units baseline, so it's not like a complete niche, but it's nice. Recon Star, military infantry platoon unit. Until your first turn, this movement, they can make an ingress move. Okay. Most of these, besides like Scions. Oh, sorry, I forgot. The only thing that's platoon, I'm pretty sure, is just like the normal troopers. This doesn't like do it. That's why it's an upgrade. Whatever. Do you want to strat reserve 10 guardsmen on turn 1? What is that going to do? It's not really going to do anything. You have a deep strike or anything. That's whatever. You're not going to take this probably. Unless these are both. This one, maybe. This one, probably. Unless it's incredibly cheap. You're like, I got 10 points over, and maybe I'll turn 1 strat reserve something, I guess. All right. Close range detection. Start shooting phase. Pick a infantry or scout sentinel unit. While someone's within range 6 inches of you, they have +3 detection range. This combines to get the +6 that a lot of armies have kind of easily. Like I said, guard is an army where this is more impactful than most other armies. This could be quite good, though niche. These, I think, I've played a bunch of games and hidden is decently niche to say the least. Triggered alerts. Your opponent's move phase when someone moves within 8 of a infantry unit, they make a reactive move. Reactive moves are great. Like I said, especially if you're trying to, maybe you could try to combine this with mechanized assault. You're taking a bunch of transports anyways, just run back inside your car, or just, the average is 5. So you can expect to maybe get behind a terrain or in terrain to be hidden or something. These are good. Nothing to say there. Smoke screen. You start your opponent's shooting phase. You pick a smoke unit. Well, it's just a second way to get cover, get smoke. What? Well, attack targets either your unit or a unit that's not fully visible attacking metal because one or more unit. Let me see. Let's check. We're gonna check together, people. All right, smoke is start your opponent's shooting phase. Pick a smoke unit. Each time it targets either, this has to be smoke too, right? Yeah, it has to be smoke. So each time until the end of phase, each time it attacks either your smoke unit or something that's not fully visible. Because the smoke unit, they gain cover. This one is when attacking either your unit or a unit that's not fully visible is attacking model because of one more models in the unit, they gain cover. This lets you, it's just a second smoke. Smoke is like the strat itself is incredibly niche now. So I think this is fairly useless. It's like, when are you ever double smoking? And that's all I got for you there. Like if it said any infantry unit, like, okay, at least that one can be, a non-smoke unit can do it. All right. This detachment seems unironically kind of bad. I'll say that. Unless it has a good disposition. Let's look at the depositions again. Reconnaissance. Guard can do recon, so if you don't want to play specifically recon, maybe like mechanized assault or something recon, that's something you could try. But I don't think this attachment really gives you like any rule here doesn't seem very impactful except specifically this strat, which is good. But recon already has something like that if you really want to react move and you want to play that style of infantry. All right, let's look at the facts. All right, boys, let's look at the changes. See if recon changed. Check. All right, so first, mechanized assault, one transfer. Okay, this changed a thing. Let's check if recon changed. All right, recon currently is walkers and regiment models from your army that have the benefit of cover for whatever reason. Improve the save by 1. So it is the same. This is not changed. The maximum of 3. Okay, so recon's the exact same. They'll still have army-wide cover. And then if they also have cover some other way, they're going to have +1 save. Like I said, it's going to be a lot harder to get to that good save because they don't just stack +1. They start at -1 BS and a 5-up save. If you take cover, you have a 4-up save. And if you are in cover, you will have a 3-up save. But no like pseudo 3-up with AOC, I think is how it worked last time. And they're definitely needing to be in cover to get good saves like they need. So definitely the invincible recon units are a lot easier to kill now. And like I said, a lot of the other reasons, but no actual nerfs otherwise. You know, changing things. Oh, this one's going to be different. Oh, Tanglefoot is going to be worse. Let's check how it is right now. Yeah, Tanglefoot is start your opponent's choose phase until the end of the phase. Pick an enemy. Well, each time an enemy selects your unit as a target of a charge, select 2 on the charge roll. This one is change. Select one enemy unit within 2, and that unit declares a charge as -1 charge. So it is different, but probably better for us as the non-recon players. Because that one used to be if I was charged, I'm -2 charge. And now that is you just pick someone within 12 and they're -1 at charge. So nice. Not as you know, getting cucked anymore. So I don't, like I said, we talked about, you know, not totally the biggest nerfs in the world to recon, but game-wide things that might make them slightly worse and maybe not as oppressive. And recon is worse if you get them into melee. Obviously, they have ways to get around it. They have reactive moves. They have this charge thing. But a lot of the rules aren't as good when they, you know, you're beating the crap out of them melee. So that's another thing to think about. Siege elements the same. They add frame to a million things. Oh, the Cadian command squad changed because it used to be you gain like cover or something. Yeah, Cadian command squad used to be a cover, which didn't do anything now. Now it's you can reroll battle shock tests. Luckily, it's not the GW's not dumb and didn't do the thing they did for Trader Guard, which gives them +1 save. So this is, you know, less impactful than that is, but it's still, you know, you just have reroll battle shock, which is nice for Guard. And it's all battle shock, so it means your opponent has weird out of phase things or like raptors and stuff. It works on those. Basilisk, nice to move, nice to charge. It's the same thing. This model is also even worse unless it gets like a giant points decrease. You want to hit on 6s a lot of time. Good luck, Mr. Basilisk. Sorry, Mr. Basilisk. Normal reactive move got changed. Nothing here. Hey, this one stayed at 9. They didn't change this one to 8. It's kind of fun. Kind of weird. Yeah, it's a very small amount of things they do that for. All right. So, seems to be the same. Or solar is the same. Okay. Were they a character before? They were not. The Ogren Bodyguard got nerfed. They were not a character before. I'm pretty sure. Oh, they were. Sorry. What were they? So they're a non-leader character that just joins units. All right. Well, wrong on that one. Maybe they'll add support later. You know, did anything get support in this army? Nothing got support. All right. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. His whole point is him taking damage. So if they made him like wait, if he's a character, that means he can't get allocated damage. The heck? How's that work? See, sorry, I'm not a guard player. So he's a character, but he joins a unit. He doesn't lead the unit. Because now 11th edition has different things about how leaders work. I don't know if this guy can take damage anymore. I'm gonna have to delve deep into that. They didn't get any support for what I can see. It gets 2 models. Okay. No, you can't get TCP. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's check. Nothing got support. All right, let's do a little homework real quick while we're here. Let's check if the Organ Bodyguard's allowed to be allocated damage in 11th edition. All right. So first we see that it has to be its own group. Now, it is a character. Ah, they can't absorb damage anymore. It's not leaders, it's characters. I don't know if that's how it worked before. I'm pretty sure it was just leaders before. So, and I don't know if it worked earlier that way because I haven't played against the Organ Bodyguard too often. But now, the Organ Bodyguard definitely cannot be allocated wounds before his unit dies, which is fun. All right, so there's another potential nerf to recon. I'm not sure on that one. There you go. We learned something about the characters. There you go. That is guard. Next, we're going to do sisters. Alrighty, friends. Off to the sisters. Very interesting army through 10th edition. Kind of very cut and... What's the word? Until the end was very binary detachment-wise. They did one thing. They spammed a lot of vehicles with Vol. And then a random amount of random MSU, like, dominions and stuff. Maybe some jump pack units here and there. But that's kind of what they did in pretty much every detachment. So hopefully there's some interesting changes here, or the sacrosanct style is more interesting, so I'm glad that's here. So all right, chorus of condemnation. Angelic judgment. Infantry fly units have the flying ability, the pick someone within 12 plus 3 detection range that we've seen 100 times. So that is random units like Celestine, whatever they're called, sorry, I can't remember, Flamer Ladies, and Seraphim, that's the name. Seraphim and Zephyr, stuff like that. I don't know if anything else is flying infantry. I don't think the weird Eldar plus sister lady unit, the Demifuge, has as the keyword to fly, even though she looks like she's floating. All right, Clarion Emergency. Candace jump pack. At the opponent's 5 phase of engage, put into Shout Reserve. This is very good if you want to take a nice little Seraphim squad. They're a gun unit. Let's actually check their depth positions real quick, see what we can take for 3D. All right, so I brought that up because that would obviously directly combine with Bringers of Flame and stuff, but their 3DPs are, unsurprisingly, Bringers of Flame and Hollowed Martyrs. So what you got for 2DP is Pentian Host, Champions of Faith, and Armies of Faith. So not a lot of options there. Champions of Faith is the Sacrosanct Detachment. And so if you want to be playing the new Sacrosanct Detachment with something else, you obviously can't take it there. You're probably going to be sticking to Armies of Faith, most likely, because otherwise it's just Pentian Host. This looks like I've already read these, so the Sacred Champions, it definitely feels maybe better than taking Champions of Faith. So I think Army of Faith with like double Miracle Dice might be coming popular. This is another army that doesn't really feel like they can only do a couple dispositions. They definitely feel pretty holistic. I would say Purge the Foe in most instances is not the greatest because it is an army that takes a lot of random crap units. You would really have to take your list of just spamming the tanks and stuff to probably do Purge the Foe quite well. So I don't think Purge the Foe will be very popular. So that definitely brings Bringers of Flame down, because you can only run so many Castigators and Vol before you run out of units that now have to be cheap and are made of paper. So they're like Drukhari, they don't really have an option. They do have to take the small units, so it's going to be hard. So I think Bringers of Flame is going to lose a lot of value in that aspect. So I do think this army will be wanting to play priority assets a lot most of the time. Disruption, because it's very similar to priority assets. They could probably do recon pretty decently, and you do have a 1 DP, which is this one, to get recon, so that's nice. Taking holds very Sisters aren't good at holding objectives. They've never been. That's always been one of their weaknesses, trying to hold midfield objectives and surviving. So that might be a little hard. It definitely feels like something like Taken Hold and Purger, kind of the weakest. Very similar to Drukhari in this aspect. T3 models that aren't the fastest is kind of leads itself to that style. All right, so back to this. So like this is like combos with Bringers of Flame, but you can't do it sadly. All right, next one, Symphonic Payload. Exorcist only. This unit rerolls the number of attacks. That's just good. Sanctify just has a random amount of attacks. It's very feast or famine. This solves a big issue with that. One thing the Exorcist got Omega nerfed with the changes to anti-LS. It's not the worst direct line of sight piece. It's like, strength 10, d6 plus 1 damage or something like that. Like a bunch of last cannons that are lower strength. And then maybe randomly you'll be able to shoot out in 4 sometimes on Blue Moon that aren't turn 1 usually. So that's nice. That helps. So hopefully it goes down to make up for it because it's pretty expensive right now. Yeah, D6, 210 points and D6 plus 2 shots at strength 10. That definitely needs to go down. Same thing with the Plague War Squadron, needs to go down a lot. So hopefully they do. Inspiration, Battle, Canticles. Inspirational. It's like an infantry flying unit or one Exorcist unit. And then select one friendly Battle Shock Series unit within 6, and they become Battle Shock. They are unbattle shocked in your command phase. So is that before you roll Battle Shock? I think that is, though I'm not 100% sure. But if that's true, that means the strat just says someone that's already been Battle Shocked and you don't feel like rolling it, you can unbattle shock them. It's fine. Unbattle shock abilities are good, but this is kind of potentially restricted in the timing. All right, Harmonize Exorcism. Your shooting phase, when Exorcist unit is selected to shoot, select one visible unit, 2, and with the 9 of an fly unit, and your unit's range attack plus 1 hit. Exorcist will hit on 2s or 3s because of cover. If the enemies with a 9 of a flying unit, it's good. It helps the Exorcist a lot. Like makes the direct line of sight play pattern better, and then its gun is not like incredibly low range. It's 36 range. It is a piece that can just sit back and shoot people. So that's nice. Like I said, this detachment is an Exorcist detachment, so it's just fundamentally all 3 of these strats are about Exorcist, and you have one Exorcist upgrade. So it's just about is the Exorcist price enough? Like it probably has to go down like 40 or more points. For your shooting phase, when Exorcist has shot, you select one friendly fly infantry and select an enemy unit hit by those range attacks. Your range attacks at target have dev wounds. Okay, this is weirdly written, but I understand what it says. So you shoot an Exorcist at something. It can be any, it could be if it's heavy bolter or even a hunter killer or the storm bolter. It doesn't have to be its big gun. And then you pick a non-monstrous vehicle that was hit by it. Then you in turn pick a fly infantry, and those range attacks get dev wounds. It essentially says your flamers on your Seraphim squad, well, all the guns, but it's for Seraphim only, will get dev wounds. This is fine. This is a 2 CP strat, I'm pretty sure, in Bringers of Flame. I was Bringers of Flame, and the dev wounds is just the dev wounds. It's a little bit better. You can get a flamer on your character if you lead them, so you can get up to 5 flamers, I think. Or is it 8? Let me check real quick. All right, so it is 4 per 5, 2 per 5, or 4 per 5 is 2, so you get 8. Yeah, two flamers per 2 models. So yeah, 4 per 5, so 8. So that's 9 flamers total. Average of like 28 hits or something. Which is like not that much dev wounds if you think that way. I don't think they have that much reroll wounds. Can't really think of any. But if there's a reroll wounds axe, this strat's very good. So it has a lot of setup. Both these are like high setup. This detachment is like the epitome of a 1 DP. Nothing here is like actively terrible. It all has some nice little buffs. You were taking those units. This is a fine detachment that if you want recon, there you go. Nothing in here is harmful. You have to make the Exorcist not egregiously expensive. You're good to go. Next is Sacred Champions. This is kind of like the remake of Champions of Faith, just for 1 DP. Friendly Celestine Sacrosanct units have +1 BS and weapon skill. And I think whatever they're called, Dominions might be Celestine Sacrosancts. I was wrong. So it's pretty much just the Celestine Sacrosancts, the guys with the sword and board, which is fine. And you cannot take this with the other detachment. This is a very good buff. They're going to be hitting on 2s and both all the time. So enhancements, Writ of Carmunction. It's an upgrade. It's going to take it 3 times. Sacrosanct unit only. It has +1 OC. This is very good. The style this army does is it stands its 10-man Sacrosancts on points, and it ults them. You know, them being OC2 at will. Obviously, the upgrade, I'm pretty sure the other attachment could get them OC2. I think it did too. Maybe it was baseline. But this means you can do an any attachment. You know, if you're playing Army of Faith, or even Hauled Martyrs to stand on a point. That's quite nice. So very good. And then Perfervid Haste, 1 Cerritos model only. He has a +1 movement. This is a very weirdly low buff enhancement. It's not an upgrade, it's enhancement. You get one lead unit plus one movement. What are you using this on? Combining it with Pentian Host to get slightly faster Pencha? I don't know. Kind of weird. One movement is not a lot. All right. Sanctified blows. Fight phase when a selecting sacrifice selected to fight, pick that unit. You have plus one attack and strength. This is a crazy good buff. Means you're going up to, I think, 4 attacks at strength 5 damage 2 if you take the hammers, or like strength 6 damage 1 or whatever the spears are that you don't take anyone. You're definitely taking the hammers, a mace or whatever. I'm pretty sure they have 3 attacks. Yeah, the mace is 4-1-2 baseline, 3 attacks, so it goes up to 4 attacks at 5-1-2 lethal hits. That's very good. The spear does have niche meta calls because of strength 5 baseline, so you get up to 4 attacks with sus 6-2-1. That's very good. That's quite a big buff. And now you can finally double lead Celestine Sacristants because when you get 2 Hospitallers are support. So potentially if you want to give them a nice real leader, like maybe a Canoness or something, you can do that. Very cool. Very exciting. Yeah. And remember, they have -1 to wound at all times. Now they're going to have -1 BS and cover. If you have another access to -1 to hit at will, which I know they had in the other attachment, which, leads to the other attachment, you can easily get the -2 to hit, -1 to wound. And then the buff to the Hospitaller, or just buffs and characters in general. That means that the Hospitaller, you kill the whole unit, you don't precision out the Hospitaller. The Hospitaller can still continue to ring models back. Even all the models are dead, except her, which is really good. Faithful Fortitude. This is any phase when the slicing sacrifice suffers mortal wound, you get 5 against mortal wounds. This is pretty bad. Not much to say about it there. Unflinching Determination. Your move phase when a slicing sacrifice selects to advance or fall back, they gain assault, and so it's advanced shoot and charge. Very good, especially for a melee unit that wants to get on points. It leads you to the way of being able to run on objectives, hold them, and beat the crap out of people. These things do pretty good damage hitting on 2s, especially with this strat. Very good all around. This is a great detachment combined with, to be fair, they don't have a lot of options for 2 DP. There's only 2 options really, but in either or, very good. Next is Sanctified Orders. This is a very interestingly weird detachment. It's like a less kind of cool version of the Black Templars Emperor's Champion detachment. This one is you enchantments detachment not count to a number models number in your army. So since this is an upgrade, you technically have 7. It's funny. And then the detach ability is character units have +1 leadership. So you go up to 6 and 5 and all your characters. It's fine. Very whatever. This attachment gives you Taken Old, or it gives you Purge, sorry. Which is kind of weird. This doesn't feel like a Purge. All right, Hagio Manifex. So this is an upgrade you take 3 times. You pick it on character units and the start of any phase once per turn. You can pick a buff. And the timing on this, they forgot to put a timing on it. Maybe it was on purpose, but the timing is they don't end. So if you use each unit uses one of these abilities every turn, by turn 5, you have all 5 buffs. Maybe you're supposed to, because it is just essentially a 1 enhancement attached. You're playing attachment for just this enhancement. But at the moment, none of these disappear. They don't have a follow-up timer. So I don't know how that's going to work. But once per turn, you can give yourself a buff, and start, you can give yourself either when shooting, the enemy units have +6 detection range. It's fine. No sisters character units that can be upgraded. So you might be able to upgrade Morven Fall. I don't know exactly. That would matter. But other than that, they don't really have guns. Like sisters, like their guns cap at 18 if you're being led. It's like multi-meltas and flamers and bolters. Like, I guess if you take heavy bolters. All right, Sermon of Intolerance. As you use Battle Shock, rolls are automatically succeeded. Just good. Never have to make a Battle Shock, especially on like maybe a Hospitality unit. But to be fair, if you're doing that, you can't give them this upgrade. You can't have 2 upgrades on 1 unit. Psalm of Righteous Smitings, unit has +1 strength. That's very good for mainly 2 units. It is attacks, never mind. It works on anything. That's a lot to think about. It means you can get up to strength 5 normal flamers, strength 6 heavy flamers, or strength 7 heavy flamers, strength 6 baseline, strength 6 heavy bolters, strength 10 multi-meltas. That seems very impactful on a Retributor, which already gives another +1 to wound. So you can have Retributors with +2 to wound in a lot of ways. What else? It's very interesting on Dominions, even with Mastercrafted Bolters. And then you go to strength 5, damage 2. There's a lot to think about here. That's a big buff. I first read as melee on, and obviously melee, like Sacrosanct, You can get them to +2 strength with this plus this, so you're getting up to, strength 6 or strength 7 on the sacrosanct sitting on 2s. Obviously, that implies you're taking just all 3 1 DPs, which I don't know what you're doing. But if you take this, you could think about this. Take this with the other sacrosanct attachment, and then you can apply Homognifex or whatever how you pronounce it on all your sacrosanct units and get all these rules. Immune to battle shock, +1 to movement. I think they get +1 movement in that attachment, so they're really fast. +1 strength, so they're really big, toughy ladies. And then this effect, which doesn't matter as much, it only, it gives you the transhuman effect of strength higher than toughness, -1 to wound. Only working against +1 to wound. But these are all, this one not as much. Most of these are impactful buffs. That's really cool. This is very interesting. It also doesn't work on Pentium units. I don't know if I said repentia, you can't do it on them. All right, let's look at the upgrades, the updates. Let's look at Champion's Faith real quick. So you pick 3 essentially sus and sacrosanct units. They get +1 movement, +1 weapon skill, and such like that. And plus, they always get +1 OC. Okay, so yeah, you get pretty much most of the buffs you get. Any of these strats, are we missing anything? +1 strength over here and +1 AP. Yeah, there's no +1 attack. So like the damage here is, I would say, better in the other attachment. Interesting. Very good. All right, let's look at. All right, any real changes? Miracle dice the same as they currently are. Same AOC change, same strats nerfed. Yep, same nerf to Bringers of Flame stuff. Yep, same nerf they had a while ago. Change it from 12 to 6. You send any model to gauge the range of your unit. Selects its target. It must select your unit as a target of its attacks. I don't know if that got changed. It sounds the same. This is a big change. Okay. So the Divine Intervention, the Hollowed Martyrs, resurrect a character strat that's been so iconic for Sisters since they got reworked in like 8th edition. So this used to be when a character dies, use a strat at the end of the phase, and you resurrect them with X amount of wounds. That's it. Now it is at the end of the phase, use this strat, select the last destroyed model up on the battlefield with X amount of wounds equal to your roll and discarded back on the field. So that means if you precision out a Sisters character and then kill at least one more model afterwards, they cannot res the Sisters character because it wasn't the last model resurrected. So this is how they think the Necrons thing was hard to read, but it looks like they tried to curtail some of the cringe. I'm going to suicide a character on a point. I'm going to res them. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'm going to start resing models that Necrons and Sisters could do. The Sisters one 100% doesn't work now. They can still res if the hospital, you can still res the Hospitaller and such, is if it's those last models that die. And if its unit dies and the Hospitaller is still alive, you can still res models. But the gameplay aspect of just suiciding your model on your opponent, if you're one phase armor, there's nothing you can do about it, you're just going to res your Hospitaller no matter what, or your Technomancer or something, and then start resing models anyways. Seems to be curtailed. The Necron one was hard. It was hard to understand, but I think that's also how it works. So your Sister player, pay attention to this change. They did nerf your strat. So try. It's even more important to not get precision, because if you don't get precision, you're fine. All right, Pentium host. Just telling you surge moves work. Telling you don't have to use your effects. So they added, support to Dialagus, Dogmata, Hospitaller, and a Midgifier. So I'm going to see if there's any interesting leaders to maybe go with Sacrosanct. All right, so there's a couple interesting ones. So you got Asher Thurga and Dolan, best character. You got Junith Arita, and you got a Canis, which doesn't give you a lot except free strat. And then finally, a dog Palatine. Those are all actually interesting for the Celestines and such, or just anything in general. Like now you can double lead Retributors if you really want to. But Asher Thurga and Dolan gives you dev wounds in your melee. You obviously are Sisters and you can miracle dice. Very nice. Otherwise, it's just nice big buff to damage. And then they help you fight. A Palatine gives you lethal hits, so that only combines with the Spear Squad, but then you can be sus lethal. Very good. And then she herself does a good amount of damage. Nice. And then finally, Junith Arita gives you CP, which is just good. But she also gives you -1 to hit. So you can have, like I said, a very easy -2 to hit Celestine Saccharine Squad. -2 to hit. And -1 to wound. And then all this has a 5 of field of pain and such. So very annoying to deal with. Those are all good. This is the only army I've seen where support has actually added literally anything. Like they talked about support and then they essentially didn't add it to any army except Sisters. And Space Marines with everything they added for support for Space Marines. Uh, Almost everything pretty much had the ability anyways, with maybe slight different restrictions. But there you go, sisters. You actually have some very cool changes there. Right next is Demifuge, just telling you new heroic. You know, Dominion's just reactive move stuff. Nothing changed there. Immolator. Let's see, what did you as? Nothing. I don't see anything there. Just keeping the Retributor buff. Trying to say Captain change still the same. Different change still the same. Adding frame to the vehicles, and then facts. These are all, I think, are all old or nothing of real value. All right, they're sisters. Like I said, not the biggest discipline in the world, to say the least. But there is some interesting stuff about the Celestine Sacrosanct, which, to be fair, is the coolest unit. You know, sword board. Incendiants are very cool too. To be fair, we all like sword and board style units. To be fair, they have a mace, but you know, close enough. All right, next is gonna be Mechanicus. All right, on to AdMech. AdMech is a weird one when it comes to dispositions. So they have two 3 disposition point armies, three DP armies, which are both Eradication Core and Halo's Creed, which is not really the most surprising thing in the world. Hey, Eradication Core, it hasn't really taken off yet, but they're both Purge the Foe, and AdMech seems like a pretty bad Purge the Foe army. Besides for maybe last chickens with Oath of Armament shooting a specific vehicle, they don't actually kill things like at all. They're really bad at it. It's like they have Ruststalkers that can specifically kill infantry pretty well, and you have last check-ins that kill vehicles pretty well. But like holistically doing damage generically, they're not good. And if you don't have Oath, they do definitely pretty bad damage. So they seem pretty bad at Purge from a layman's perspective of the army. They're also an army that does like a lot of its damage in committee, similar to Town that way. Where like, you know, they can kill things, but it's not just this one unit one-shots you, this one unit one-shots you. Like Space Marines, you can imagine with Oath, you're like, you can expect that one tank to one-shot that one thing in Oath. You don't have to worry about it. So that might be a toughie. They are also a very, you know, I guess you could say cheap but wide style army. They got a lot of random units, so they definitely seem like a priority assets or more recon style army. And then a lot of their 2 DPs are kind of not great. Data Psalm Conclave is the one that buffs the weirdo guys with the jazz hands. I don't really know too much about that attachment. Exploratory Mantle, I played a game against it. It's an objective based attachment, which are better this edition. You know, objectives are bigger and such, but it doesn't really have a lot of rules. So it's really in Bradstone Core. If you ever played against indexed AdMech players, you know how much they hate this detachment. It's way better in the Codex than it was in the Index, so it's still like not the best thing in the world. So it definitely feels like recon, disruption to an extent, or priority assets is the way. So Skitarii Hunter Cohort definitely feels like the best 2 DP. So I definitely feel like recon plus one of these. I mean, Skitarii Hunter Cohort plus one of these will be the best way to play the army. But like I said, I don't play the army, so. All right, so Cohort Acquisitist. So very specific units, most small Skitarii units, which is Praxis, Infiltrators, Rangers, Cerberus Raiders, Sulfur Hounds. So it's like pretty much just not Ruststalkers, I think. Have the Recon Augury, which is an ability we've seen a million times. You pick an enemy within 12, and that unit has +3 detection range. Quite simple. Exploratory Dispense Station. Martial only, his unit has Infiltrate. This is fine. Infiltrate is never a bad enhancement. This army already has like a mass amount of infiltrators. You're usually taking all 3 that you can take. I don't think anything else has Infiltrate though. So it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's not a bad rule to have. Stealth Screened Cyber Canids upgrade. One thing I will say for Exploratory Disposition, the one thing that is interesting about it is putting it on Rangers. You know, you take a Marshal, you lead them with Rangers. They have Sticky, and it's very easy on most objectives to have a unit touch both objectives with very little effort. They're very close to each other. So potentially you could have, you know, the Ranger unit sticky both objectives, you go first. And it's not the most suicidal thing in the world because you would be hit into, so you might have a loan up 15 or 12. So that's a big maybe reason to take that. Sticky 2 midfield objectives on turn 1. All right, Stealth Screened Cyber Canids. Cerberus Raiders only. This unit has a loan up 15. Essentially, it's trying to give them like hidden, but not really. Obviously, this one doesn't have the codifier being able to get loan up, you know, pure loan up like hidden can, you know, the hidden 12 rule. Obviously, loan up is strictly better than hidden because you can be out in the open. I don't know how much you would take this, but it seems fine. It was not expensive. And it is Cerberus Raiders only, not Sulfur Hounds. I think Cerberus Raiders are the ones with the reactive move. Yeah, they have a normal, like someone who's with range of me, I move D6, but if you can end within 6 of a battle line, they get to move flat 6. So that's quite impactful to load up. All right, defect scrutiny. Okay, your shooting phase when any mechanic is selected to shoot, take an enemy unit within 12 of a friendly recon auger unit, which is this. Like, so it's kind of annoying because it's like all small Skitarii style units besides like Rustalkers. So it's like kind of something to keep track of. Within 12 of a recon auger unit, that units have ignored cover. So when you want to shoot with something, as long as the enemy's within 12 of a recon auger, you get ignores cover. That's fine. It's probably Admech has units that ignores cover, I'm pretty sure. Like they have a decent amount of units that baseline ignores cover with one of their upgrades. I forget. A lot of the units have a baseline upgrade. This is probably impactful on something like Cerberus Raider, not Cerberus Raiders, Ballistari Last Chickens, because actually can be a 3-man. It's not just upgrading one gun. But a rule like this is never going to be bad in 11th edition. Repolarized Auger. Start of your opponent's move phase. Select one unengaged recon auger unit. Unit has -3 detection range. It's not -6 like the GSD one, but this is nice. You can just say, starting moon phase, I have blown up 9. You're probably not going to be able to shoot me. The end. All right. Clandestine reposition. End your opponent's movement phase. You pick a infiltrator or praxi only, and you go into strict G reserve. Praxi lose a lot of value, at least the good praxi, the ones that fire and fade, due to you can't fire and fade from reserve anymore. But an up down deep strike unit, really good. Or, putting your infiltrators in good spots. Infiltrators, their ability, which is amazingly good. Every time someone's in combat with them, they take a battle shock at -1 or -2 if you're near a battle line. That is a way better ability in 11th edition because you just keep people perpetually battle shocked potentially. But uppy downy is good. This is a very interesting support detachment, which feels what Admech has a lot of. It's a lot of support. Admech always just needs like girth and beef and things that just do stuff. Like, I'm gonna kill you. I don't need a bunch of cutesy rules. This one feels like it's in a weird spot. It doesn't give you recon. Like, I think recon is very good for Admech, so that could be a big reason if you specifically don't want to play Skitarii Hunter Corps. Maybe you want to play, max robots and then a bunch of random units. Do this. Lords of the Forge. Friendly tech priest models have 4 pin will save and 5 final pain. Boom. So it gives it to both of your big characters like Call and whatever her name is, the new lady, but also that new kill team people like. It's a servitor kill team, but the sergeant of the kill team is like a 2 wound. He has a tech priest keyword, so he's like a 2 wound guy, and then you have 5 final pain and 4 pin will save. That's very cute. That unit's pretty good as like advance and fallback and do actions and stuff. It has a random assortment of decent guns. So that's nice. And then otherwise just gives your tech priest nice symbol saves and final pains. Like I said, but mostly on people like Call and the big lady. All right, and friendly tech priest models, including the guy we just talked about, like the small little sergeant of the servitor battle clade. That's what it's called. In shooting phase, this unit is selected to shoot. If there's not battle shocked, you can roll dice. On 2 up, select one enemy unit within 12. The enemy unit must take a battle shock at -1. Or they're both on a 2 up. You get to pick one of them. Okay, sorry. So on a 2 up, you get to do one of these abilities. So it is pick an enemy within 12. They have to take a battle shock. Pick a vehicle within 12. They have to take a battle shock at -1. A unit can only be targeted once per turn. So all your tech priests get a point at vehicles and make them scared in your shooting phase. Or secondly, you can shoot and still be hidden. This is probably most impactful on the Cataphrons, which I'm pretty sure are infantry. Not because they were like weird. Last edition, they were like weird bikes that tried to give them all the infantry keyword, but they kept the bikes. So I'm sure they're infantry now. So that's impactful on them. Other than that, none of your like units do anything when shooting. So like whatever. But it's very good in Cataphrons. Otherwise, you just could use this ability, which is a good ability if your opponent has any amount of vehicles. That's good. This is a pretty good detachment ability itself. Let's continue on the enhancements. Ving's Wafers of Dynamism. Hilarious. Cybernetica Danismith, which is the robot guy. Model at the start of the first battle round. He's attached. This unit has mobile until the end of the battle. Okay, so you give Cataphron robots mobile. So that is a direct combination with Cohort Cybernetica. You can have all your robot squads have mobile. That attachment makes them faster too and such. So you can make them really quick and buffs all their rules. And then you get rules like I don't know if they're tech priest, but lots of rules for this stuff too. And then a funny gun, TL409, tech priest model only. This model gets a gun, which is a 3-shot. Let's zoom in. 3-shot gun, hitting on 2s, strength 11, -2, D3 +2, which is a very interesting profile, which means the average is 4 damage, with dev wounds and then hazardous. This is a funny gun if it's like 15 points, you'll probably take it. It's not like anything crazy. It's like a 3-shot ghetto las cannon. I don't know is the best way to describe it, or like a super auto cannon. I think it's more similar. But it's cute. It's funny. Next, scriptorial prognosis. In your turn shooting phase or fight phase, when enemy targets a friendly tech priest unit that is within range of objective, they have the transient effect -1 AP until the enemy unit is attacked. Let's check if Mr. Datasmith is a tech priest. All right, let's check. Yeah, the tech priest guy, the Datasmith is importantly a tech priest, so he gets all these rules. I don't think it's an info save, but feel no pain. He gets the funny shooter back. He can prevent them from being hidden, which doesn't work, to be fair, on the robots, but does work on. He loses the infantry keywords, so it doesn't work at all. And he's gonna give them mobile, and then you can give them essentially AOZ while they're on an objective, and they're like T9 with a 2-up save. That's very impactful. It also works on Cataphrons if they're led. Also very impactful. This is a very good strat. Overloaded safeguards. Your opponent's move phase when a friendly tech priest is selected to make a fallback move, they can fall back and shoot and charge. It's really good for the units I just said. This is like Cataphron and Castlin robot heaven. Okay. Holy Avarice. It's a Holy Avarice. I've never heard that one before. Your shooting phase, when a tech priest unit starts an action, you can action and shoot. Very good for the, once again, the above units. This detachment is seemingly amazing. I don't see why you would ever not take this. Cataphrons and stuff are just good units in general. Party assets is a very good disposition. It seems like one you want for AdMech. This does everything. So I think if you're taking any amount of Cataphrons or Cataphrons, Castle and robots, which there's a whole detachment for that, go wild. Next is Lumen Auto. All right, so this is another Corpuscari Jazz Hand detachment. Corpuscari units have attacks, have lethal hits. Oh, that's only Corpuscari. Fulgurite ones. I assume the Fulgurite ones. Let's just check. All right, so Corpuscari are the Jazz Hand guys. Fulgurite are the staff guy. My eye is still twisting. So giving the Jazz Hand guy lethal hits is kind of impactful because they have sus 2 anyways. And you're usually trying to combo it with like Call and the boat to get reroll wounds. So then your sus 2 lethal hits, reroll wounds. That'll add up a lot of damage. And then when a friendly Fulgurite unit is fought, they heal D3 wounds. They also only have 1 wound each. Yeah, -1 to wound. If they're being led. So, and then a feel no pain. So healing D3 means you're averaging 2 guys back. Ooh. And if your opponent charges you and doesn't kill your whole squad, you're gonna fight them and heal guys back they just killed. This seems pretty good if you wanted to run these dudes. Anyways, both these buffs seem fairly impactful. All right, Voltageist Reliquary for enhancements. Tech priest model enemy units cannot target with snap shooting. So if you really want your made of paper melee unit to get into melee, your staff guys, or you really want to use your Corpuscari, this helps because they are fundamentally like a 5-up Imble save and a 5-up feel no pain unit. They and have wood. Electromiasmic Brazier, tech priest only unit has stealth. These type abilities are way less important next edition. You can use it to get you put it on a, once again, our friend the Datasmith, and you can give some Castle and robot stealth. Nice. It's more impactful on the vehicles. I'll say that. All right, Echoes of the Conduit Wars. The hell is that? I've never heard of that. Conduit Wars. Punishing transgressors has a long and ritualized tradition amongst the unforgiving Electropiece, and they will eagerly prove their faith in the coruscating violence. Damn, it doesn't tell you what Conduit Wars is. I gotta look into that. Okay, shooting your 5 phase when a friendly Electropiece is selected to attack. That Electropiece unit, your attacks that target some of the objective, have real 1-cent wound. I think this is more impactful on Fulgurites when they hit on 3's baseline. Yes, they hit on 3's baseline, so they can make them hit on 2's, rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound, and they have dev wounds. That's nice. Like I said, it's nice for Jazz Hand guys to just not miss. But they really want the transport / call anyway, so it's not going to be as impactful for them. Next is Chant of the Electrotraction. Your moon phase when a friendly Electropiece Battleclade unit. What the heck is an Electropiece Battleclade? What? Guys, I thought I looked through every day sheet. Nothing has the Battleclade keyword. I think this is a miss. If someone wants to tell me what this means, please. Because I thought it was for Servitor Battleclade, but one, that's the title of the unit, and that's also the keyword they have. They're not a Battleclade unit. And I think it's supposed to both be a comma, and also this isn't supposed to be here. It also says Lat Electropiece. I think this isn't supposed to be. I think this is a mistake. But so let's say okay, your move phase when fighting electric piece is selected advance move, they can advance and charge. That is for the most obviously JSS guys can get into melee, but the melee profile is pretty beans. It's just for the stealth guys, the Fulgurites, the staff guys. Momentum feedback. Your functioning phase when an enemy that has targeted friendly unengaged electric piece is shot, and you can it's a surge move. These are fine. This detachment is unoffensively fine. It's not, pants on head silly. I'm crazy about it. It's very similar to the first detachment. It gives you disruption, which is probably okay for the army. Priority assets mostly just better. But it's okay. Like I said, I'm unoffended. It's very vanilla, very whatever. If you really like your Fulgurites and your Corpuscaries and you don't want to play their specific attachment, there you go. Here's some decent, especially attachment ability itself. All right, so that is that. The second attachment I think is fairly crazy. It actually seems really above the par for a 1 DP. So that's pretty cool. Let's look at like I said, servitor battle kit keyword. They don't have the battle kit keyword. All right. Next, this is the change to Doctrinos from 10,000 years ago, so no changes there. Rework to Cybernetica, Datasmith, whatever. The detachment, cohort Cybernetica, which happened a long time ago, because it used to be just give you the army ability, which is so stupid. Now it doesn't. They get the army ability baseline. Next, Skitarii Puncher cohort. Redeploy, so it's the same. Marshal became a support and not a leader. So you can lead a tech priest. Interesting. You can lead a tech priest with Skitarii. You can lead what can they lead? Is anything interesting for? I'm mostly just thinking of like the little Skitarii guy. Yeah, nothing here. Just either gives you a 5 of Feel No Pain, which I don't know if you're investing in that much points to get it, or you're getting the lethal hits from the other guy once per game in 4 pin will save. Not really gonna be worth probably almost doubling the price per unit. So it's cute, but whatever. Thing's got the frame keyword. The fuselage became now a normal, and the Stratoraptor became normal flyers, and the Transvector became this is like the drop pod style one. So yeah, the fuselage was the bomber one. It got the updated bombs that they've forgotten on. What has it been so far? It's been the Dark Talon, and one other thing we talked about earlier. Oh yeah, the Custodes one. Sad. Whatever. So let's see. Is the Transvector interesting because it's not a plane anymore? All right, the answer is it's not very interesting. It essentially has the stubber output as your normal transport, and it transports 11 little guys, and you can turn one deep strike if you want, but it just transports like Rangers and Vanguard. So nothing interesting there. It's probably also very expensive because of plane. 150 points for a Rhino. It's T9, 10 wounds, 3 up save, and it's slightly faster than a Rhino. It's not very interesting. It's kind of bad. Call used to move 6. Holy crap! I didn't know that. This is the call update from 20,000 years ago. Nothing there. Sorry, Marshal. I think it's the same ability. Underground Dune Rider that also happened forever ago. It is rework to this model. Stupid Iron Stallion Belisari, which got buffed 30 times. Cerberus Raiders. They're just updating it to be with an 8. Tactical Oblique. This used to be like the most crazy strat ever in 8th edition or 9th edition. Yep, same buff. These guys used to have 2 attacks and melee. Jesus Christ. All right, Ruststalkers. Any changes there? No. Daysmith is support. You can never take a solo Daysmith. He must be led. All right, that's it. That's Radmech. Like I said, kind of cool if you're a robot guy. Those are the biggest things. Otherwise, generic Admech is interesting. Like I said, there's just some generic detachment you can run. They definitely feel like fine as an army playing dedicated missions that their list is written for. The Admech kind of had an issue playing every mission at once. So now you won't have that issue. They felt good. Like I said, for the priority assets, recon style of armies, pretty good at it. But 2 of their better attachments being locked to Purge and 3DP might be a little suspect. So we'll find. But Skitarii Hunter Core is definitely not bad to say the least. So that being 2DP and you can take one of these is probably fine. All right, next is why is this here? The answer was Knights, by the way. Titanicus. All right, let's talk about Knights. So let's get to the Knights section. So Knights, and then we'll talk about agents. As much as we can. So Knights, no surprise, want to play Purge. Boom. They all want to play Take and Old most of the time. it is an army of decently high OC models, and they don't have a lot of them. So unless very nichely trying to do goofy at armor stuff, you're not going to be very good at recon. Priority assets you're probably fine on because it's a low amount of actions and all big knights. It's like an action or two every turn, but big knights can shoot in action, so they're probably fine with like purge, priority assets, take and hold, and the disruption is just bad in general. And recon's probably the worst, but it definitely feels like an army that can do every death position kind of finely. We're going to think about that. So both the recon attachments are both the armor gear attachments, Spirit at Arms and Thoroughbound and Outriders. So if you want to play recon, you're doing armor gear stuff. First of Foe is the new Dominus detachment plus 3 DP free blade. And then Valor Strike. Valor Strike is the super nerfed advance and shoot one. It's fine, but being able to play Purge is very good for them. What they have for Take and Hold, though, is only one, which is Custodes Companions, which to be fair is their best attachment. I don't know if there's going to be any changes in general, but the style of just taking 5 knights and tailing your opponent, especially on Take and Hold, it's not going to work nearly as much. Especially if everyone's like saying like recon or something, they can just like run away from you and score a million points, and you physically can't stop them. So I don't know if that will be as good. Another priority asset is priority assets Gate Warden, which is gaining a lot of talk in the town now because the word Gate Warden. I don't know if I did make a video about this a long time ago. It has my least favorite attachment ability, which is you pick like your home field and expansion, or you pick like 2 expansion objectives and you make a line through them. Or maybe you pick your home field, enemy home field, whatever. You pick 2 objectives, you make a line through them. And anything on those the line makes the line, the Gate Warden line. And before it used to be small, it was a 3-inch line because it was just the circle on the objective. Now it's a giant like 15 by 15 inch line, stringing across the whole midfield. So that's something to think about. One thing I think people are messing up, its attachment ability is ignore mods to hit. It doesn't work on cover, but it does ignore like hit mods. And it gives you sustained hits if you're on the line. There's Gate Warden. Like I said, I think Gate Warden plus either Dominus Foe Breakers or Thronebound and Outriders will be fairly popular. Or people will just stick to playing Custodes Companions or Fleetblade Company. I played against Fleetblade Company. It's fine. It definitely just feels like kind of shitty Custodes Companions, to be fair, though. All right, so let's get into it. Dominus Foe Breakers. This is Dominus attachment. Friendly Imperial Knight Dominus attacks in terrain area have +1 to hit. It's a good buff. All I can say about that. It's obviously not +1 BS, so it's, you can't get like 2 +1s to hits and ignore cover with it. It doesn't work that way. But if you have another +1 to hit, like Towering, Plunging Fire, you would. So that is very good. It only affects the Castellan and really half of the Valiant, to be fair. But the Castellan is not too expensive. He's relatively durable, especially combined with this. Blessed Plate. It seems quite good. Our Blessed Plate, a Dominus unit becomes +1 toughness. So it gets it back up to the T13. It's quite a huge breakpoint. No one is attacking for T13 in the game. Most guns cap at strength 12 or lower. And it's also strength 6 is very popular, especially in melee. So it cucks that too. It actually doesn't. Sorry, I missed. Never mind. Take back what it is. It's mostly just strength 12. But that's very popular for anti-tank. Next is Archaeotech Autoloaders. Dominus model only. Moon can reroll, determine the attack of weapon. We saw this exactly in the other Chaos Knight attachment from yesterday. I said it was good there. Good here. All right, Ground Shaking Stride. Movement phase when friendly Imperial Knight selected to move. That Dominus model gets +2 to movement. So you can combine this with the army ability, which I think is +2 to movement. So you can get to +4 and then move 12, make you very fast. Or if you play Gate Warden, they have a +3 to move strat. So that one can move 13 inches. So you can have 2 Dominuses move really fast if you spend all your CP and such. That helps. I don't know if you can actually realistically flex 2 movement, especially for a Castellan, which has a very random amount of shots and a very random amount of hits, and then you don't have any rerolls. You're potentially hitting on 3s, 4s if you're 3s if you're lucky, but a lot of times 4s. Once in a blue moon, you're hitting on 2s. That might be hard not taking the rerolls because if you're not playing Custodes Companion, you're not switching your things around and getting all the buffs. Foe Breaker, Firestorm. Your shooting phase when a friendly engaged Dominus unit selected to shoot. That Dominus unit, your unit's blast range weapons do not have blast and gain +1 attack. So that's just good. Remember, being engaged is another way to get -1 to hit, so that could be countering out your rules and stuff, but this can also counter out the engaged debuff. But I think both their weapons are in blast, so you can have a D3 plus 1 Melta Volcano Lance thing, like D6 plus 3 Plasma Cannon or whatever it is. Even at the minimum, uh, your Harpoon getting another attack, which is cute. And like I said, it doesn't have to be blast, so you can still shoot at a small unit and get plus 1 attack. Otherwise, just shoot to combat. Like if you shoot like a Rhino that charges you in combat, you can shoot it and still get your plus 1 attack, and then importantly, shoot it. Fire Shocked. Shooting phase when friendly Dominus has shot, pick the enemy hit by the attack and make a battle shock on -1. This is fine. It's not crazy, but it's fine. This attachment's quite good if Dominuses are even remotely playable. Like I said, this strat is quite good. This strat is important for movement. Attachability is pretty decently good. Like it's not bad at all. It's pretty nice. And both the enhancements are good. So it's got, it's got it all. It's a good detachment. It's just restricted to a notoriously not good data sheet. So that's the qualifier. Next is Custodes Forge Pack. This is a remake of the old one, the one that lets you take Scutari units, which, to be fair, is a lot worse than taking Cultists, because Scutari units are, way more expensive to get essentially the same value. So Imperial Knight models have the following ability. 6-inch aura. While friendly mechanics unit within 6 of this model, those mechanicus units have +1 BS and heavy. So essentially gives them kind of back half of their detachment ability, or the army ability. Cute. All right, and then friendly tech priests have this ability where they can, if the Imperial Knight within 3 inches, they can heal him D3. I don't know if you'll even want to take tech priest unless you really want to heal a guy. You can't take him solo, I guess, and hide behind a wall and heal a knight, maybe. But they don't really do anything. They're like 60 to 70 points or something. I would assume probably you just want to take Rangers and Vanguard. Rangers are nice because it gives you access to sticky, even though they're way more expensive than Cultists, and they have pretend shooting. And Vanguard can do weird OC things. Okay. Next is Magos Custodes. Tech priest only. When using this model Sacrosanct in place, you heal 2 extra wounds. So that's actually very impactful. If you have a guy camping next to a knight, you can heal D3 plus 2 every turn. That's 4 average wounds. That's spooky. Knight of the Opus Mechanica. Imperial Knights only was friendly mechanics used when 6 of them. They get +1 weapon skill and +1 AP. Why would you want that? Because it's cute because it gives them kind of the other half of the other detachment ability. But it's melee, and you only can take Rangers and Vanguard, and then the characters. The characters technically have a melee weapon, but none of them are good. These guys don't. They're like one attacking on 4s. They hit on 3s at 3-1-1. This is a meme. Don't take this enhancement. All right, on to the strats for the Knights. Omniscience Grace or Custodes support back. Pick a friendly Knight unit. They take a 5 feeling pain against mortal wounds when they take 1. It's fine. It's more impactful on this unit than most because they're, fundamentally army is 2 to 4 big models, and if any of them die, you're in a pretty bad spot. Getting Blackberry. And if you're terrified of like Stern Guard in the meta or something, this would help you not get completely wrecked by them. So it's like it's better here than most, but it's still, they have also 4 up. That'd be a lot more impactful. Bench with a mean Sheen Colt. When a friendly Titanic model is destroyed, essentially you mark the enemy that destroyed you, and all ad mech get reroll wounds against the target. That's a much better strat than the the Chaos version, which gives you like lethal hits. Obviously, the Chaos units, you have better options of units. You can take like Traitor Guard or Cursed Cultist stuff, so you have better unit choice. But Vanguard and Ranger with reroll wounds can actually kill some okay units. So or the Tech Priest with their guns plus their melee. So this strat is fine, especially you really need to kill that thing. All right, in the Shadow of Giants, your move phase when a friendly Mechanicus unit is selected to advance or fall back. You can still action. You can advance, fall back in action. That is good. That's all I got to say. It's a good ability to have. So those are. Oh, we got one more. Sorry. Next is the unique Armiger attachments. You can't play this one with Spirited Arms. Throne Bounded Outriders. While friendly Armiger is affected by a bondsman, that unit's range attack ignores cover. This does sound good, I think, until you look into it, because baseline, this isn't Spirited Arms, which gives each time you bondsman 3 Armigers. That'd be very impactful. Each guy only baseline, you might be able to combine this with attachment that gives you 2 bondsmans, but they only get bondsman 1 at a time. So especially if you're playing enough Armigers to make this work, you're probably only getting 2 bigs at most, maybe 3 if you're just trying to upgrade 3 Helverins or whatever. And then, you can lose them. So like, Armiger's getting Helverin's getting Norse cover is kind of good, but this is it's got more hoops to jump through than, on the first look. This one is Recon. Like I said, that can be decent. All right, enhancements, gyro optimized actuators. Armiger only. This model has mobile. It's good. It's less impactful on giant bases because you still gotta end past the wall. Like I said, the Armigers were on 60s, it would be better. And most Armigers are gun units, so they don't really need it as much. This seems fine if it's not expensive. Like, obviously, this was 10th edition. This would be amazing, but we're not playing 10th edition. We're playing 11th edition, where walls don't exist. Ancestral Overbleed. What a name. Armiger only unit where you can fire Overwatch or Heroic Intervention for -1 CP. It's whatever. That's all I gotta say. It's whatever. Neural Lash. Command phase, select one Titanic unit. And then you select one Battleshock Armor within 12, and he is no longer Battleshocked. See, this one's command phase. It's not beginning command phase like the other thing was. This is good. Like, this style ability is nice. It's like very unrestricted. It's just boom, Armiger fails, just unfail him. I don't know if that timing, because I know they added like how command phase is actually structured now. I don't know if you can use this and still make sure you get your primary out of it. You gotta look into that, but this style ability is just nice in general. Helm conditioning. Does it have to be visible? Doesn't have to be visible. Oh, sorry. Wait. Titanic. It's like one friendly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be visible. So the Titanic guy can unbattle someone behind a wall, which is kind of cool. Helm conditioning. Command phase when a friendly Imperial Knight uses a bondsman. When selecting an Armiger for that bondsman, you select one with an 18. Isn't it 12? Baseline? Check. It's 12. So 1 CP plus 6-inch bondsman. Fine. I don't know. It's kind of very, like a very whatever buff. I don't got a lot to say about that. It's okay. Auto to serve. Your shooting phase when friendly Armiger is shot. Those attacks you can still action. This is good, especially since apparently you're trying to play a recon with this. Another issue is like if you don't get, battle line in this detachment like you do in Spirited Arms, so you're only taking 3 of each at most. Armiger, you can technically take the Moriaxes. Probably don't do that. This one's weird. It doesn't have anything. Like this is like okay. It's like decently good. But nothing here. I'm like, this is crazy. This is a good detachment. These definitely seem much more impactful. Like the strats here are not the most important thing, but the heal is nice, and obviously just being able to take some sticky Rangers is quite nice for an army that just fundamentally has 5 units. And this detachment just seems good in general, but you have to take Castellans. So I think this is probably the more take it all comer most Knight players would be focusing towards this, and you definitely have to be making a build to make this work. All right, let's look in the. All right, anything of importance? That seems the same. Battleshock Lance. Yeah, that's when they nerfed it forever ago. Pre-nerfed it. Yeah, they got rid of the same thing, same nerfs there. Wait, what? Is that any different? Let me check. When did they update this? Is this the same it is now? I don't know. Was it like in the codex was weird? I don't know. Okay, so same damage section, whatever. Oh, I think I remember. Maybe they didn't have damage. I do remember Knights having OC 8 on launch, and they changed it to 10 really quickly. I do remember that one. Yeah, no Doctrinas or Forgeback. So nothing I really see of here that's different at all. We can check like any of the Forge World data sheets real quick. Armiger has the updated heroic wording. Anything here cool? That's cute, combined with the Forge Breaker one, so you can heal 2d3 plus 2 wounds. Pretty funny. Too bad the guns here are terrible. 12 shots at 902, baby. Atropos, anything different here? I wouldn't assume any like these days sheet to train anything. The only one that might change is the Lancer with its tank shock thing. Nope, that's the same. You remember, if you reroll your charge with Lancer, you can't tank shock. So, or if you have any strats that say in the charge phase do something, you're not going to be tank shocking. All right, speedy little boy. So there is knights. We're going to talk about agents for a second, and that will be it for today. All right, agent players. You've probably been waiting for this if any of you watch my content. Charlie, if you're watching this, wait, is this the only army that did not get all 5 dispositions? And it's funny, the one they teamed up on twice is probably the worst army in the game at doing it, which is Percival. That's funny. So I will say this. This is obviously offensive. Agents has been, I don't want to say scam, but as much as you can get there from GW as possible, they are the most unupdated army. The only thing they released technically in any updates was a couple of nerfs, like the deep strike for the Calidus and stuff like that. Not Calidus, Calexis. Since ever, they've been ignored by GW, and that sucks. I feel bad for you players. I can't just say, GW doesn't feel it's a real army, you guys should suck it up. Yeah, because a lot of people bought this army. Because GW essentially, they didn't directly say, this is a real army now. You guys can play them. We're always going to update them. But that is the implication when you make you box up a bunch of models and you make a codex for them. It's a very easy implication to make, and that is what they're implying by they doing it, and they have not upheld that end of the bargain, I guess you can say. And that is bad, and I feel bad for you. One thing I will say is everything is 3DP. Yes, technically by the rules of the game, you cannot use this army under 2,000 points. And I will say, I think some agents players are hampering their own rightful complaints by raging out that aspect, because that's not a real thing. It's not real. No one is actually, that there's never going to be a place where you can't just play these under 2,000 points. No one's going to ban it. It's not actually a real complaint. It's more just like a funny haha GW screwed up like they do sometimes, like they screw up keywords or accidentally, like the agent thing. It'd be like the same as complaining agents can technically put 50 rhinos inside themselves because they could do on launch. That's mostly just a funny thing. It's a goofy thing, but it's not an actual real thing. No one's going to ban you from playing agents under 1,000 points. It's just not real. Like, you can play your army. But it is stupid at the same time. Like, I'll say it's stupid that when GW does other things like that, that this is even a thing that you can technically, like rightfully, because it is technically the rules, say that you can't use this army under 2,000 points. And I'm sorry, guys. There's nothing to talk about here in terms of the rules because they didn't get a new detachment. I don't think they got really much of a fact. It's funny though that they did get a fact and Deathwatch did not, though, which leads more evidence that Deathwatch is probably getting legends. I think when the codex comes out, I don't want that. I don't want anyone's army to be deleted. Like, same thing with agents. I'm not laughing at you, agents players. But I think it's just the writing on the wall. When this army that is obviously this shit is happening and is ignored got more attempt thrown in it than Deathwatch. And they've also been very apprehensive about talking about Deathwatch since people have been asking them questions about it. So armor, so same thing, armor contempt, nothing changed there. 8-inch thing there, 6-inch deep strike there. Or armor contempt effects, nothing there. Adding frame to things, turning Chorus Black Stars we saw with the Deathwatch change into a normal like speeder, the move 14-inch moving pseudo plane. Callous Assassin, yep. Normal changes of the game, got the Mech change. Flux Assassin got, like I said, this was like the nerf. This was like one of the only changes they got in 10th edition, which was just a nerf to the model. See, they had to do this because technically said Agents of the Imperium models, and you could put cars inside cars. Yeah, they had to get rid of the Death Range kill team thing because people were arguing that you could lead like the Black Spear Task Force, any of the kill teams with Inquisitors. Drexus. Okay, nothing changes there. These are all changes though, so nothing here. One change, Vindicare is a cute one. This is an actual change, kind of cute. We selected a shot, enemy units do not have blown up, which I think is currently, but also hidden units have plus 15 detection range. So enemies become 30 to 28 detection range, which is very similar to the range of his gun. So that's cute for the Vindicare Assassin. Voidsman, same thing. Minimum Priest became a sport. Also, like another nerf, like you can't take this guy as a solo character anymore, or like a solo random unit. Some armies did that, like Knights, for instance, or maybe Custodes once in a while. And like this isn't even applied to 11th edition. Like they've done this. What was the other army? It was T-Sons that had the same thing, which this doesn't like. It just works in 11th edition because your leader is led well before you're leading before the game started. So there's no way you wouldn't have the infiltrate. So like I said, there's nothing to talk about here because they didn't do anything. They have cool legend stage sheets. So let's look at the coolest model in 40k. Come on, we're here. Oh my eye. Inquisitor of Karamazov, baby. You ever watched Emperor at Texas Spice? You know about this guy. He's got the dude on the funny throne. He gets mad and shit. He's cool. Yeah, he gives people Scout 6. 3 units Scout 6. What a crazy man. But that's agents. Do you have anything to talk about agents? I'll have, happily talk to you in the sorry, the comments and such. Please talk about your woes of the army. I understand your pain. Yeah. Custodians are in a very similar situation. They're at least getting finally updates and stuff forever, but obviously it's not nearly as bad. But they were essentially ignored almost just as, they were not almost, they were ignored awfully in 10th edition. So I kind of understand, your favorite army being just thrown to the side, but Custodians are doing better now with their new models and hopefully putting those models in the codex. So agents just got to be fixed. GW just needs to GW is really bad with wishy-washy stuff. They just they never admitting to something. So they just need to the same thing. So they're doing a Death Watch. They did it with Demons and Death Watch earlier this edition. They do it with Forge World all the time. Like they've always been. They're still wishy-washy at Forge World. They've said stuff, and we're pretty sure the Forge World or most of Forge World is staying for Custodians, but we still don't freaking know because they haven't told us. They just need to say yeah, we're not gonna bother with agents. Don't pick this army if you expect it to be updated, or say we screwed up. We're gonna fix the army, something like that. The army can just be a bad army. It's allowed to be, and that sucks. But it has issues with models. But being a bad army is not the same as what they're doing with agents, where they're just ignored and pretended they're not even an army. Armies are bad all the time. Armies have holes in their, their I don't know, the meta, the unit choice that makes them bad at certain things. That is, obviously you want armies to be able to do things, but it is fine for an army to be bad. You don't want the army bad, but it is fine. But agents aren't just bad. They are just essentially relegated to nothing. So people have, said, they spent their money on this. They said there was a real army, and GW said, just kidding. But it's worse because they're not admitting to it. All right, that's all I got to say on the agents because I'm not an agent player. I'll say they have, one detachment? What's the one detachment? Imperial Fleet, that's Disruption. That's probably fine. I don't know. If you're going to play agents, you probably would rather do Priority Assets or Recon, but Imperial Fleet is Disruption is fine. All right. That's all I got for you guys. It's a little sad point at the end, but there we go. Here's the little series of videos every day about the new detachments. Very exciting. Tomorrow, I'm going to be posting of what are the best dispositions. And if I keep pronouncing the word wrong, I'm sorry, for Drukhari. So there might be some interesting ones you don't expect, or maybe they're all expected. I don't know. But it'll be a good one. It'll be very informative to you. So please watch the video if you're very interested about what detachment we should aim for. Because like I said, that'll also indirectly, or directly tell you what our best detachments are. And it's definitely not as it currently is, to say at least in 10th edition. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Said 10,000 subs, as I say, our video. I would love that. Get me there. Thank you, everyone. And other than that, if you need coaching, go to the Discords pinned in the description of the video. It is getting very busy. Tell you what. So hit me up as quick as possible if you want that. We can get it working. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And you all have a great day.